Chapter 555. It was late at night, and it was noon the next day. An orange light shot up into the sky from the embryo of the longsword. It was a top-grade spiritual book. Lin Muyu could not remember how many heavenly tomes she had written, but she could feel that Fushi's divine power in her arm was gushing into the heavenly tomes crazily. Every time a heavenly tomes was written, the energy and soul of the writer would be greatly consumed. This was also one of the reasons why heavenly tomes were so rare. Even though Lin Muyu had outstanding strength and a strong soul, she still felt a strong sense of weakness at this moment. "Who's on duty?" Lin Muyu asked. "Sir, it's me." Wei Chao's voice came from the outside. "Come in." "Yes." When Wei Chao pushed the door open and entered, he found a large pile of broken longswords on the ground. On the other side, there was a pile of finished weapon embryos that glowed with different colors. He could not help but be a little surprised. "Commander, how many heavenly tomes have you written in total?" "I don't know." Lin Muyu shook her head and said, "Prepare a sumptuous meal for me. I need to replenish my energy. In addition, let General Sidu Shui come in and collect these longswords that have been made into books. Count the number of weapons that have been sent into the Longdan army camp's arsenal." Wei Chou was startled and said, "Logically speaking, these heavenly tomes should be collected into the Heavenly Book Pavilion." "It doesn't matter, the Heavenly Book Pavilion does not lack these. Let's bypass the Heavenly Book Pavilion and directly collect them into the arsenal of the Longdan army camp. Who can predict the outcome of the war in the future? Naturally, the more weapons we have in our hands, the better." Wei Chou smiled and said, "All right, I understand." Not long after, Sidu Shui walked in with 3 kiliarchs. They quietly carried away all the heavenly book embryos and registered them in the warehouse. The officers of the Longdan army camp could claim these weapons as their own weapons. This would greatly increase the combat power of the Longdan army camp. Not long after, Sidu Shui held a file in her hand and said respectfully, "Commander, a total of 11 local books, 24 spiritual books, and 7 personal books have been recorded in the military warehouse." "Yes." Lin Muyu sat tiredly on a chair, the 7 luminaries' immortal gourd and god-binding lock shone brightly around her. The 2 martial souls were greedily absorbing the spirit energy of the world around them to replenish the profound energy that their masters had used. Lin Muyu glanced at Sidu Shui and smiled, "You've worked hard. You and General Sun can choose one of these embryonic earth book swords as your personal sword. It will definitely be much sturdier than your original sword." "Yes, I understand. Thank you very much, Commander." "You're welcome." At this time, Wei Qiu walked in again. Behind him were 3 soldiers holding a silver cauldron. The cauldron was steaming hot, and it was filled with freshly made dishes. Lin Muyu invited the 2 subordinates to express that they had already eaten. Thus, Wei Qiu began to eat heartily by himself. In the blink of an eye, he had finished 3 cauldrons of dishes and 4 bowls of rice. He patted his belly in satisfaction and said, "All right, you guys can go back to your work. I want to take a good rest. Wake me up if anything happens." "Yes, Commander." "Rest well." After Wei Chou and Sidu Shui left, Lin Muyu lay down on the bed. After falling asleep, a faint layer of battle flames condensed on the surface of her body, forming a thick layer of battle armor. At the same time, a layer of golden light enshrouded the surface of the battle armor. This was the astral energy generated by the Vajra barrier. Before she knew it, Lin Muyu had already cultivated the 5th stage of the Vajra barrier divine art. In the blink of an eye, it was dark in Lanyan City. A bonfire rose in the Longdan army camp, and the night drill began. The sound of horses' hooves and the collision of long swords became one. On Tongtian Street, pedestrians were in a hurry. It was particularly lonely at night without the night market. It seemed that everyone was just busy with their journey. Except for the sexy singers and dancers on the Flower and Wine Street, almost no one talked. Dang, dang, the bell under the horse's neck gently shook, making a crisp sound. Several people in cloaks entered Lanyan City. Their clothes were not in the style of the imperial capital, but they seemed to be from remote provinces such as Lingdong province. There were 5 people in total. Under the night light, their eyes shone with a faint purple light. At the same time, they were equipped with swords and sabers at their waists, like wandering mercenaries. The group stopped in front of the Drunken Immortal restaurant and quickly entered the private room upstairs. But they didn't lift the cloaks on their heads from beginning to end. After entering the private room, they immediately closed the door. In the dark corner of the street, a patrolman with a fire sparrow on his chest cupped his fists respectfully and said to the person in the dark, "Lord Shao, that group of people has entered the Drunken Immortal restaurant." The voice of the person in the dark was slightly hoarse, but it was full of energy. He said, "They have been in a hurry since entering the city, and they don't look like people from Lingbei province. Are you sure that the gold coin they left at the city gate is the legendary divine capital coin of the demon race?" The patrolman said, "I can confirm that after defeating the demon race in the Wildfire Plains, the Imperial Army seized a lot of the demon race's spoils of war. Among them, this divine capital coin is very common. I'm very sure that this group of people is most likely a high-level demon race. Even if they aren't, they should be spies among the demon race." "Heh." The person in the dark smiled. "That's enough. Prepare your claws and follow me to investigate. I, Shao Han, would like to know who is secretly colluding with the demon race in Lanyan City." "Yes, sir." The subordinate was ready. Shao Han, ranked first among the 21 patrolman commanders of the Fire Sparrow Department, was known as the top constable of Lanyan City. He was 28 years old and had a cultivation base of the first level of the Heaven Realm. He was the favorite subordinate of the Fire Sparrow Department's abbot, Jianghu. Shao Han had been patrolling the demon race's spies for nearly half a year, and now he had finally found such an important clue. In the darkness of the night, a row of fast horses galloped past on Tongtian Street. 2 young men dressed in black robes dismounted and entered the Inn of Drunken Immortal, heading straight for the private room. Under the dim light of the inn's lanterns, the 2 men's faces were faintly discernible. Their faces were solemn, and the waiter recognized them with a single glance. These 2 men were the 2 marquises of the Mansion of the 7 Seas, Marquis of North Ridge, Tang Lu, and Marquis of West Ridge, Tang Tian. As if sensing the waiter's gaze, Tang Lu pulled down the hood of his cloak and said, "Guards, guard the restaurant for me. Prohibit anyone from entering or leaving." "Yes, sir." The guards of the 7 Seas Palace, disguised as guards, placed their hands on the hilts of their swords and guarded the entire restaurant. However, no one noticed that in the dark sky, 2 figures floated down along the iron chains on the hooks and landed on the private room. Shao Han's skills were exceptional. He landed on the room like a falling leaf without making a sound. The 2 patrolmen of the Fire Sparrow Department stuck to the room like bats, not making a sound. They also lowered their aura to the minimum. In terms of strength, Shao Han was only at the first level of the Heaven Realm, but in terms of Qigong and aura control, he was probably at the level of a saint. Squeak. The door was pushed open. Tang Lu and Tang Tian walked in, looking travel-worn. The 5 high-level devils in the room stood up one after another. One of them cupped his fists and said with a smile, "It's been a long time, Marquises. I'm the commander of the 1st Vanguard Battalion of the God Race, Xianju. These 4 are my colleagues." Tang Lu cupped his fists and said, "My apologies, my apologies." Xianju smiled and said, "The food and wine are ready. Let's drink and talk." "All right." The few of them sat down. Tang Lu glanced at the swords hanging on the waists of Xianju and the others. His gaze turned cold and he looked at Tang Tian, hinting him to be careful. But Xianju laughed aloud and said, "The 5 of us entered Lanyan City alone and didn't plan to leave alive. Marquises, you don't have to be so cautious. This tavern is tightly surrounded by your people, and the entire capital is guarded by nearly 200,000 elite troops, including the Dragon's Courage Legion, the Imperial Army, and the Iron Blade Legion. We are already in a desperate situation, so how can we not be frank with each other?" Tang Lu smiled and said, "Lord Xianju is worrying too much. How about we toast first? All right. After downing the wine, Xianju and the other demon race generals seemed to have no intention of eating. Looking at Tang Lu and Tang Tian's restless appearance, Xianju couldn't help but smile and said, "Don't worry, we are very cautious in our actions. You two don't have to be so cautious. Tell us, what is the bargaining chip this time?" Marshal Qianfeng is waiting for the news. The corner of Tang Lu's mouth rose. He said, "Let's see what the demon race can take out first." Xianju laughed and said, "Marquis, you're a straightforward man. I'm impressed. Then I'll be frank with you. We can avoid the areas on the steel walls where the Marquis and Marquis are guarding. At the same time, once the God race enters your territory, we will avoid the Seven Seas Province and Star Earth Province. We won't touch a single soldier of the Tang family." This bargaining chip, Tang Lu grabbed an oily chicken leg and fiercely pulled it down from the chicken's body. He said with a ruthless expression, "Our Tang family is not afraid of death." I think Lord Xianju has misunderstood something. Xianju was startled and seemed to understand something. He cupped his hands and said with a smile, "My words have offended you. Please forgive me, Marquis. Since this is the case, our God race can agree to a condition of the Marquis as long as we can do it." Really? Yes. Very well. Tang Lu placed the half-eaten chicken leg on the plate and wiped his mouth with the back of his hand. He said, "I want you to kill someone." Xianju was startled. He couldn't help but narrow his eyes and said with a smile, "Kill someone? If it's Feng Jixing, Lin Muyu, and Xiang Yu, the three great commanders, forget it. The elders of the God race may not be able to kill the three of them. Don't worry." Tang Lu laughed mischievously. "The person I want you to kill won't be too strong, but the demon race must take action." "Oh?" Xianju looked straight at Tang Lu and asked with a face full of smiles, "Then, who does the Marquis want to kill that the God race must take action?" Tang Lu raised his hand and drank the wine. The wine cup fell heavily on the table and he said with a cold gaze, "Governor of Cangnan Province, Lord of Five Valley City, Su Jiantao." Chapter 556. Su Jiantao. Xianju was stunned. "What? You can't do it?" Tang Lu faintly smiled. Xianju was silent for a few seconds and then smiled. "It's not impossible, but Su Jiantao is Lin Muyu's favorite general and also the governor of one of the 6 provinces of the empire. He has at least 50,000 troops in the Five Valleys city. If we want to kill Su Jiantao, it will take a lot of effort. Marquis, you have to give me a reason why we must kill Su Jiantao, right?" Tang Tian was somewhat indignant as he said with a cold face, "After Su Jiantao became the governor of the province, he started farming, conscripting, mining, smelting iron, and forging weapons. He turned the resource-rich Cangnan province into the backyard of the Dragon Courage Corps. As long as Su Jiantao doesn't die, the Dragon Courage Corps will become more and more powerful. Could it be that Lord Xianju has forgotten who caused the crushing defeat of the demon race in the Wildfire Plains?" Xianju's face turned ugly as he smiled. "Marquis Westridge doesn't need to remind me. I will always remember that crushing defeat. However, Su Jiantao is a feudal lord after all. It won't be easy to kill him. Moreover, we will need to use the armor demons." "Is that so?" Tang Lu raised the corner of his mouth and said with a slightly ferocious smile, "Then, what if we tell you that Su Jiantao will go to the recruit camp outside the Five Valleys city every 3 days to check the provisions and troops, and that he will bring no more than 500 people with him?" "Really?" Xianju seemed to be a little excited. He stood up and said, "If Marquis tells us the exact time and place, it may make it more convenient for us to act." Tang Lu nodded. "This is naturally not difficult." Xianju calmed down his excited mood and sat down again, saying, "In this case, the God race has already agreed to Marquis Westridge's request. Then, what about Marquis Westridge? Will you agree to our request? Tell me, what do the demons want?" Xianju narrowed his eyes. "It's very simple. We need to know what Lin Muyu is doing and what his Longdan army camp is doing. Our men have received news that the valiant dragon army is developing a new weapon in the barren mountains outside Lanyan City, but our men can't get in. So, the two marquises must find out what this new weapon is. Tang Tian clenched his teeth. That's preposterous. If your demon race can't find out, do you think we can? Don't go too far. Tang Lu hurriedly pressed his brother's shoulder and said with a smile, Brother Tian, don't be impulsive. Let me talk. As he spoke, Tang Lu cupped his fists towards Xianju and said, I'll naturally send people to investigate this new weapon. Don't worry, sir. If you only have this request, then, we can immediately get it done. Don't be anxious, Xianju smiled. How can a piece of information be used to break Lin Muyu's arm? Also, marquises, listen up. We have conditions that we need you to agree to. Tang Lu said indifferently, Speak, Sir Xianju. Xianju smiled, dipped his finger in wine, and drew on the table, saying, The god race is expanding its army and urgently needs a large amount of food. Therefore, the two marquises must prepare 50 million jin of food for us within a month. 50 million jin? You must be joking. Tang Lu was startled and said with some anger, You're making things too difficult for us. The empire has been at war for many years, and many people are starving. Where will we get so much food for you? Even if we get it, how will we transport it to you? Xianju smiled. 50 million jin of food might be difficult for others, but it isn't so difficult for the two marquises. I heard that one of the largest merchant associations in the imperial capital, the Dragon-Seeking Merchant Association, is backed by your 7th Sea Monarch residence. If you let the Dragon-Seeking Merchant Association purchase food at a high price, I'm afraid that 50 million jin of food won't amount to much for the affluent North Ridge province and the imperial capital. If it's transportation, it's even simpler. Star Earth province is your Tang family's fief, and there's a tributary of the Rice River that runs from Star Earth province's Bugus City to Winter Ridge province. There aren't any military inspections or checkpoints along the way. As long as the Tang family hires enough merchant ships, they can easily transport the food to Winterfrost City. At that time, our transaction will be considered complete. Tang Lu narrowed his eyes and said, Is a mere Su Jiantao worth so much food? It's not worth it. Xianju laughed heartily and took out a map from his bosom. He lightly pointed on the map and said, This is a prefecture east of the steel protective wall. It's called Qin Tian Prefecture. Our god race's army of approximately 10,000 is garrisoned in Qin Tian Prefecture. If the two marquises don't mind, you can dispatch your troops to attack Qin Tian Prefecture. Marshal Qianfeng will naturally order the Qin Tian Prefecture's garrison to flee in defeat. At that time, the two marquises will recover the empire's lost land. I believe that Her Majesty the Empress will also look favorably upon the two of you, right? Tang Tian couldn't help but become excited, his entire body slightly trembling. Tang Lu narrowed his eyes and said, The land in the east of Tsangnan province will be easily taken away even if we take it back. What's the point? Xianju sneered, As long as it can be exchanged for riches and honor, would the Marquis really care about the empire's territory? Marquis, don't forget that Lin Muyu and Feng Jixing have been overbearing in the imperial capital. Your Tang family has received the cold shoulder. Her Highness Tang Lan is a person of virtue and prestige, but her power has almost declined. Shouldn't your Tang family consider for yourself? Ha 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 ha, Tang Lu drank a few more cups of wine. His face was flushed red, and he laughed heartily. He laughed so hard that tears rolled down from the corners of his eyes. His palms landed heavily on the table, and he looked at the other party with an ice-cold gaze. Deal. All right, deal. Right at this moment, a guard outside suddenly shouted, Who is it? A ray of light from the heavenly book pavilion soared into the sky. It was a faint indigo luster. It was actually a low-grade heavenly book. However, because this faint luster was too close, it illuminated the upper floor of the wine shop, causing the hiding place of Xiao Han and his subordinates to be discovered. A few guards of the Seven Seas Palace immediately raised their blades and rushed over. We've been exposed, my lord. The young patrolman's face was ashen. It's fine, follow me. Xiao Han, on the other hand, was much calmer. With a leap, he evaded the line of sight of the guards. His body was like a dancing swallow as he floated into a private room in the wine shop. Inside the private room were 4 mercenaries who were drinking. When they saw Xiao Han enter, they immediately turned pale with fright. Who are you? Xiao Han lifted his cloak, revealing the insignia of Flame Lord. He said in a low voice, I am the first commander of Flame Lord, Xiao Han. Immediately pretend to know me and drink here, or Flame Lord will make sure your heads roll. Yes, the mercenaries had all heard of Xiao Han's name. After all, the first patrolman of Lanyan City was a nightmare for many criminals. Mercenaries, on the other hand, were people who lived on the edge of a knife, so they naturally had a lot of contact with Flame Lord. The 2 patrolmen quickly sat down and took the wine glasses and chopsticks from the side. Xiao Han picked up the wine pot and took a big gulp. His mouth reeked of alcohol, and he grabbed the food in the copper cauldron and stuffed it into his mouth, until his face was greasy. At this moment, the door of the private room was kicked open with a bang. 4 guards of the 7 Sea King's mansion, who were disguised as guards, looked inside angrily and shouted, Did you see anyone come in? No. One of the mercenaries said in a trembling voice. Xiao Han glanced at him. At this moment, Tang Lu and Tang Tian also appeared at the door. Tang Sect untied the belt of his cloak and looked inside coldly. What's going on? The guard said, Marquis, we saw someone jump over the stairs and disappear, so we chased after him. I'm afraid the assassin is in this private room. Is that so? Xiao Han laughed coldly and cupped his fists. Your subordinate is the first commander of the Fire Sparrow Division, Xiao Han. Greetings to North Ridge Marquis and West Ridge Marquis. I've been drinking with a few friends here for a long time. I didn't know that you 2 Marquis were here. I wonder who you 2 Marquis are looking for when you kicked open the door. So it's Master Xiao Han from the Fire Sparrow Division. Tang Tian smiled lightly. Then there's nothing else. Please continue drinking, I'll be going back. Farewell, Marquis. Humph. Tang Lu snorted coldly and turned to leave. Tang Tian hurriedly chased after him and whispered, Brother, did someone hear our negotiation? Could it be this Xiao Han? Tang Lu's gaze was cold. There's still frost on Xiao Han's cloak. What did he mean by drinking for a long time? Ridiculous. Then why didn't we kill him? There are too many people here. Besides, he might not have heard anything. Moreover, Xiao Han's cultivation is extremely high. We might not be his match, and the demons have left. Then what about Xiao Han? Find a chance to make him disappear from this world. Yes. Inside the wine shop, Xiao Han opened the window and said, Let's go. The young patrolman was startled. We're leaving through the window. Quick, if you don't want to die here and be silenced. Yes. The 2 of them leaped down the stairs like flying swallows and quickly disappeared into the darkness. However, none of them noticed that there were 2 ghost-like shadows following them in the night. Official Alley, one of the streets of Lanyan City's Flower and Wine Street. It was already late at night, and there were only a few drunkards and the laughter of dancers coming from afar. The Flower and Wine Street was a place for the rich and nobles to enjoy themselves. They lived a life of luxury, as though the war to the east of Cangnan Province and the south of Qinling Mountains had nothing to do with them. Xiao Han and his subordinates were flying through Guanren Alley when they suddenly felt a scorching heat at the back of their heads. Shockingly, a fire fox seal appeared in the palm of an expert and directly blasted over. It was the masked Tang Lu. Oh my God. Xiao Han hurriedly turned around and unsheathed his sword to block. However, he only felt his chest heat up. He was unable to block the fire fox seal's sharpness. He spat out a mouthful of blood and was sent flying. No one knew that Tang Lu had unknowingly stepped into the Heavenly King realm. Lord Xiao. The young patrolman turned pale with fright. However, he felt his back heat up and a fiery red palm stretched out from his chest. Tang Tian's expression was cold as he said, "You must die." Xiao Han's face was ashen. Leaning on his broken sword, he staggered towards the flower and wine street. "You still want to leave?" Tang Lu and Tang Tian chased after him like the king of hell. Xiao Han's consciousness was a little chaotic. After running a few more steps, he heard someone's voice. "Big brother whore, you really drank too much today." "Little brother whore, you're the one who drank too much." "I'm only half drunk." "Ha ha ha, I, Zhang Wei, have roamed the brothel for dozens of years. When have I really been drunk?" It's a pity that Lord Commander doesn't allow the Imperial Army officers to stay outside the camp. Otherwise, I'll definitely make that little fox Peach want to die tonight. "Big brother whore, look, there's a fire in front." "Ah. You must have seen wrongly." "Oh my god, there's really a fire. There's even someone." Who is it? How dare such an ugly person run around in the middle of the night?" "Big brother whore, it's someone from Fire Sparrow Division. It seems to be Xiao Han. Should we save him?" "Yes, big brother whore, you go first." "Damn it, you two thieves, stop right there. Watch this daddy's fiery soul fist." Chapter 557. Wang. A fiery red and enormous profound energy fist shot into the sky and headed straight for Tang Tian and Tang Lu, and it shocked Tang Lu to the point he hurriedly swung his palm and used the Firefox seal to deal with this attack. In truth, Zhang Wei was only at the heaven realm, so he wasn't that terrifying. However, what Tang Lu was most afraid of was the fact that Zhang Wei was actually wearing the armor of a vice-commander of the Imperial Guard. This fellow was simply too daring. He was the first person to wear a military uniform to PC, but it was this armor that scared Tang Lu so much that he couldn't kill him anymore. Killing a deputy commander-level general in the imperial capital was a huge crime. It was probably not as simple as killing a mere Xiao Han. Furthermore, Zhang Wei was Feng Jixing's favorite general and had a good relationship with Lin Muyu. Once this matter was pursued, it would be even more troublesome. Pulling out the carrot would bring out the mud. No matter how stupid Tang Lu was, he would still understand this logic. After exchanging glances, Tang Lu and Tang Tian leaped up successively onto a nearby house and vanished into the veil of night in the blink of an eye. "Don't go, you two. Stay here and fight with me for 300 rounds." Zhang Wei's fists were enshrouded in raging flames. As he waved his fists, flames shot up into the sky. He looked like a ferocious tiger, but he couldn't stand steadily and fell to the ground. Xiao Han covered the burn wound on his chest and said gratefully, "Thank you, General, for saving me." Zhang Wei helped Xiao Han up and said, "Nonsense, why are you so polite? You are from the Fire Sparrow Division. I saved you, so you must treat me to wine. I want the courtesan lady." "This, all right then." Xiao Han didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Zhang Qing walked forward and cupped his fists. "Lord Xiao Han, do you still remember me?" Aren't you the temple's Silver Star instructor Zhang Qing?" "That's me. I just happened to walk here after drinking with my cousin Zhang Wei." "Lord Xiao Han, why are you being chased? Who are those two people?" Xiao Han knew the importance of this matter and shook his head. "I also don't know. The imperial capital has been getting more and more restless recently." "Yes." Zhang Qing helped Zhang Wei up and said, "I will accompany cousin to the Imperial Army's camp." "Lord Xiao Han, do you want to go with us? I'm afraid we might meet some danger along the way." "I won't." Xiao Han waved his hand and said, "This place is only a few steps away from the Fire Sparrow Division. Don't worry, Xiao Han will definitely visit you too to thank you for saving my life." "You're too polite." Zhang Qing supported Zhang Wei as they slowly left, while Xiao Han quickly disappeared into the darkness of the Flower Wine Street. After crossing a street, they would reach the main hall of the Flamecracks Division. At this time, the main door of the Flamecracks department was still wide open. When a commander-level patrolman went out to patrol, the Flamecracks department was usually guarded throughout the night. However, when a group of patrolmen saw the injured Xiao Han walking towards them, they couldn't help but be shocked. Sir Xiao, what happened to you? Who hurt you? I'm fine. Xiao Han shook his head and asked, Is Lord Abbot asleep? Not yet. Bring me to see the Lord Abbot. Yes. Behind a row of steel fences, light shone through the window. A patrolman knocked on the door and said in a low voice, Lord Zheng, Commander Xiao Han requests an audience. Xiao Han. Jianghu held a Cultivating Heart scripture in his hands. After putting down the scripture, he said, Let Xiao Han come in. Yes. A group of patrolmen stood outside the door. Xiao Han pushed the door open and entered. Most of the clothes on his chest had been burned away, revealing the soft armor underneath. He looked a little embarrassed as he cupped his hands and said, Sir, I'm back. Jianghu frowned. Xiao Han, what happened? Who dared to injure the commander of the Flamecracks department in the capital city? This is simply disregarding the laws of the country. Speak, who is it? Xiao Han didn't answer the question. He smiled and said, Sir, compared to the news I received, this injury is nothing. What? Jianghu said in a low voice, You've made any progress in your patrol? Yes, this subordinate found 5 high-level demons in the tavern, but unfortunately, we didn't bring enough people, so we weren't a match for the demons at all. Moreover, the people who conspired with the demons had already found me and Sun He. Sun He died in the line of duty, and this subordinate's injuries were also caused by the conspirators. This. Jianghu said lightly, who would be so daring as to secretly meet with the demons in Lanyan City? And dare to kill the patrolman of the Flamecracks department in Lanyan City? It's the people of the Seven Seas Palace. Xiao Han took a deep breath and said, The Marquis of North Ridge, Tang Lu, Marquis of West Ridge, Tang Tian. My injury was caused by Tang Lu, and Sun He was killed by Tang Tian himself. What, the people of the Seven Seas Palace? Jianghu suddenly trembled, and his body seemed to fall uncontrollably into the chair. Sir. Xiao Han looked at Jianghu and was slightly disappointed. He said, Sir, you can't be lenient just because they are powerful. At this time, the fate of the empire is at stake. We, the Flamecracks department, live off the king's salary and receive the king's grace. Now is the time to serve the country. I heard clearly that Tang Lu and Tang Tian were conspiring with the demons. The Seven Seas Palace King, Tang Lan, must also be involved. Please grant me the Flamecracks order, so that I can continue to investigate this matter. Flamecracks order? Jianghu looked a little dejected. No, this matter can't be continued. Otherwise, the implications will get bigger and bigger, and it will affect the country. If we don't continue to investigate, the country will really be affected. Xiao Han said indignantly, Sir, do you know what they are plotting? I don't need to know, Jianghu said faintly. Xiao Han was stunned. Sir. You are the abbot of the Flamecracks department, and you are in charge of the laws of the empire. How can you say such things? They are conspiring to assassinate the chief executive of Cangnan province, Su Jiantao. Once Su Jiantao is killed, Cangnan province is bound to fall into chaos, and the eastern gate of the empire will be lost to the demons. I know. Jianghu looked at him deeply and said, Xiao Han, you should also understand how powerful the Seven Seas Palace King, Tang Lan, is. If we rush to deal with him now, I'm afraid it will be like a rabbit jumping over a wall. The Seven Seas Province and the Earth Star Province will attack Lingbei Province from the north and south. What will happen to Lanyan City then? Can the Longdan Army Camp and the Imperial Guards protect Lanyan City and Her Highness? As he said this, Jianghu gently patted Xiao Han's shoulder and said, Go and rest first. I will consider this matter. Don't worry, bad people will eventually get their retribution. Sun He will not die in vain. Then, all right, someone, send Commander Xiao Han back to his room to rest and recuperate. Yes. As soon as Xiao Han left, another commander-level officer came in and cupped his fists. Sir. Jianghu's eyes were cold. Send someone to imprison Xiaohan. Don't let him step out of his room. Yes. After midnight, another group of people appeared at the entrance of the Flamecracks department. An old man in a cloak covered his face in a luxurious carriage walked into the Flamecracks department, followed by a forest of guards. What's wrong with our Flamecracks department today? One of the guards was shocked. It's like a busy market with people coming and going. It's really lively. Who knows? Let's not ask about the matters of the upper echelons lest we get implicated. Well, you're right. Is that old man who just went in, His Highness the Seven Seas King, Tanglan? I told you not to ask, Stinky S13. In the depths of the Flamecracks department, a guard hurried to Jianghu's residence and knocked on the door. Sir, His Highness the Seven Seas King is here. Jianghu was stunned. Quick, invite His Highness to the front hall to serve tea. I'll be right there. No, His Highness said to meet here. Then, all right then, when Tanglan stepped into Jianghu's residence, he waved his hand and dismissed the guards, leaving only him and Jianghu in the room. Subordinate Jianghu, the abbot of the Flamecracks department, greets Your Highness. Jianghu hurriedly bowed and said, May I know why Your Highness is visiting so late at night? Tanglan didn't say anything. He walked forward and picked up the teapot to pour some water, but the water quickly overflowed and steam splashed everywhere. Jianghu was at a loss. Your Highness, the water is full. Yes, the water is full. Tanglan smiled faintly. A cup can only hold so much water, and a Flamecracks department can only manage so many things. If it manages too much, the water will inevitably overflow. Jianghu knew what Tanglan was implying. He cupped his fists and said, If Your Highness has something to say, just say it. Forgive me for being slow-witted. Tanglan slowly sat down on the chair, holding the overflowing tea. The tea kept splashing out and landing on his robes, but he was unmoved. He took a sip and smiled. The tea of the Flamecracks department is really bitter. Jianghu was a little embarrassed. The Flamecracks department is a limitless yamen. Naturally, it can't be compared to the Imperial Residence's tea, limitless yamen. Tanglan couldn't help but smile. He looked at the cold moon outside the window and said, A year ago, when the Minister of Revenue was investigated, there was an ownerless account with a total of 1,240,000 gold coins. Does Lord Jianghu still remember? This account seems to have been investigated by Lord Jianghu, but in the end, it disappeared without a trace. He only killed a mere patrolman to punish him. I also heard that Lord Jianghu has 3 villas in the Heaven's Pivot province. They are incomparably rich and luxurious. Is this all true? Jianghu couldn't help but sweat profusely. Your Highness, these are all true. If it's true, then the Flamecracks department is not a limitless yamen. Tanglan laughed heartily and stepped forward to help the trembling Jianghu up. Sir Jianghu, no man is a saint. Everyone has their own selfish motives. Who doesn't do this for the sake of a better life for their family? Sai, my 2 useless grandsons, Tang Lu and Tang Tian, seem to have caused trouble for this old man again. I'll have to trouble Lord Jianghu with this matter. Jianghu was silent. Tanglan smiled again. He took out a thick stack of gold notes and placed it on the table. He said, The weather is getting cold. Take these gold coins as a coat for the officers of the Flamecracks department. I'm tired. Lord Jianghu, you don't have to transport them. Jianghu knelt on the ground and trembled. Although it was winter, he was drenched in cold sweat. Chapter 558. The next morning, during the Imperial Court Assembly. As if it had become a habit, Lin Muyu would wake up early every Imperial Court Assembly. After washing up, he would bring Wei Chou, Situ Sen, Situ Shui, Fengxi, and the others to Zai Tian Hall. The spring breeze in January already brought with it a wisp of warmth. The annual spring plowing festival was not far away. In the past, Lin Muyu did not care about the production of grain, but now it was not a normal relationship. He would always calculate the grain output of the various provinces from the Ministry of Revenue and calculate the grain consumption of every army in the empire. Now, his biggest wish was for the weather to be good this year and for the empire's land to produce more grain. As long as there was enough grain for the army, perhaps the empire would take the initiative to send troops this year. After all, he had a trump card in his hands, the magic crystal cannon. It was not the first or second day that the Zine Flower Chamber of Commerce had been purchasing magic crystals in large quantities. The news from Qin Xiling was that the development and improvement of the magic crystal cannon had reached about 70% progress. In just a few more months, the technology of this weapon would mature. Once the magic crystal cannon was mass-produced, the empire's army would gain the upper hand in the war. From afar, Feng Jixing walked over with Zhang Wei, Xiahou Sang, Luo Yu, and the others. He smiled and said, "What have you been up to recently? I couldn't even find you for a drink." "Busy inscribing the heavenly book." Lin Muyu answered truthfully. Another heavenly book." Feng Jixing was brave, but he seemed to be slightly biased against the heavenly book. He said with a taboo tone, "Did you know that someone wrote a lower-grade heavenly book last night? And it was someone from the Heavenly Book Pavilion." "Oh, who?" Lin Muyu was slightly stunned. This person should be the first person to write a heavenly book in Lanyan City, right? He had the divine book, but he could not write a heavenly book of the heavenly book level. This person actually wrote a heavenly book. It seemed like his aptitude and comprehension were above his. Lin Muyu frowned and said, "Is it Manager Ji Lin?" "No." Feng Jixing shook his head. "It would be great if it was Ji Lin. The bad thing is that the person who wrote the lower-grade heavenly book is actually the kid from the Lu residence, that person called Lu Feng." As he spoke, Feng Jixing clenched his fists and said, "Lu Feng has been fantasizing about Her Royal Highness. You should know that. This time, he has written the heavenly book. I wonder how arrogant he will be. Doesn't that mean that he's going to be the manager of the Heavenly Book Pavilion?" Lin Muyu asked. "I don't know. We'll find out in court today. Let's go, it's almost time to go to court." "Yes." In the spacious main hall of Zhe Tian Palace, the civil and military officials were divided into two sides. The military officials were Feng Jixing, Xiang Yu, Lin Muyu, Su Yu, and so on. The civil officials were Tang Lan and Su Muyun, standing side by side, followed by Zhen Yifan, followed by the 6 ministers. These 3 people's status in the imperial court was evident. Behind the 6 ministers were the manager of the Heavenly Book Pavilion, Ji Lin, and Prince Zhong of the Prince Zhong's residence, Qin Yong. What was different was that the person standing behind Ji Lin was not Lu Yan, Ouyang Ping, or the other masters of the Heavenly Book family, but the young Lu Feng. At this time, Lu Feng naturally looked like he was riding on the crest of success. He was dressed in the white robes of the Heavenly Book Pavilion and looked handsome and refined. At this time, a group of female officials surrounded Qin Yin, who was wearing a golden empress robe, and walked to the front hall. Qin Yin held Tang Xiaoxi's hand and arranged a seat next to the emperor's throne. Just like that, Tang Xiaoxi sat there. What's going on?" Feng Jixing looked up at Tang Xiaoxi with a puzzled expression. Lin Muyu was also a little confused. She had never seen such a scene before. Tang Xiaoxi seemed to see the confusion of Lin Muyu, Feng Jixing, and the others. She just smiled sweetly and didn't say anything. After all, this was the imperial court. Solemnity, tension, unity, liveliness, and so on were ancient teachings that couldn't be disobeyed. Tang Lan, who was more experienced, stepped forward and cupped her fists. "Your Highness, why is Shao Shi?" Qin Yin smiled faintly and said, "Don't be surprised, 7C King. I was about to announce it. Come, summon her." "Yes." The female official, Shengguan Jingyue, walked forward with the golden imperial edict in her hand. After unfolding it, she said in a clear voice, "In accordance with the emperor's decree, Tang Xiaoxi is well educated and reasonable. She is considerate of the overall situation and has saved the empire from disaster. She especially conferred the title of princess who supports the nation and bestowed the sword seal. If the emperor can't decide, princess who supports the nation can decide on her own. Princess who supports the nation. Feng Jixing was startled and couldn't help but laugh. Your Highness is really different. In the past, it's always the older officials who are conferred the title of princess who supports the nation, but Your Highness actually conferred the title of princess who supports the nation at such a young age. However, it seems that no one is more suitable than Princess Shi. Lin Muyu nodded. At this moment, Tang Xiaoxi had already stood up to express her gratitude and took the sword seal from Qin Yin's hands. In this way, Tang Xiaoxi's power and status in the empire had already faintly surpassed Tang Lan and Su Muyan. This must be another move that Qin Yin thought of to keep the two great feudal vassals in check. Tang Lan couldn't say anything, so she took a few steps back and stood beside Su Muyan. Su Muyan remained silent and didn't say a word. He only looked at Lin Muyu with a different expression. Half of it was helplessness and the other half was resentment. Su Muyan hated that Lin Muyu couldn't be used by him, but he was helpless because his godson Luo Xian's cultivation was still not as good as Lin Muyu's. He couldn't make Lin Muyu, Feng Jixing, and the other empress's forces submit to him in terms of martial arts. A few minutes later, Ji Lin, the manager of the Heavenly Book Pavilion, stepped out and bowed respectfully. Your subject, Ji Lin, is here to report to Your Highness. I have a piece of great news. Oh. Qin Yin smiled faintly. What good news does the manager have? Both of Ji Lin's arms were slightly trembling as he said excitedly, the second young master of the Lu residence, young master Lu Feng, is indeed an outstanding talent in the empire. He is exceptionally talented and outstanding. Last night, he actually wrote a low-grade heavenly book. The embryo of the heavenly book is here, please examine it, Your Highness. He respectfully raised both of his arms and put down the jade tablet in his hand. He took out a white and lustrous jade hook and said, This is the embryo of the heavenly book. The jade hook was a tool that the nobles used to hook their belts when they wore loose embroidered robes. In reality, only the rich or nobles would use this kind of fragile artifact as an everyday item. As for generals like Feng Jixing and Lin Muyu, their belts were all specially made from animal skin, which was sturdy and easy to use. The jade hook glowed with a faint flame. This was a low-grade heavenly book of the law of fire. Shangguan Jinghua walked forward and took the jade hook. Then, she turned around and handed it over to Qin Yin. Qin Yin only stretched out her hand and touched it lightly. Immediately, a fiery red divine rune appeared on the jade hook. It was scorching hot. She couldn't help but smile. The power of heaven and earth is indeed vigorous. Congratulations to young Master Lu Feng for entering the ranks of the Heavenly Book Pavilion's heavenly scholars. Zhe Tian Palace will naturally reward you. Men, take this embryo away and put it into the Heavenly Book Pavilion according to the rules. Yes, Your Highness. Qin Yin smiled sweetly at the officials and said, Lords, young Master Lu Feng is the first genius to write a heavenly book. Does anyone have any suggestions on how to reward him? Su Muyan cupped his fists and said, Lu Feng wrote the highest grade heavenly book. Logically speaking, he should enter the Heavenly Book Pavilion and become its master. The current manager of the Heavenly Book Pavilion, Ji Lin, was from the Seven Seas province. He was also Tang Lan's subordinate. Naturally, Su Muyan hoped that someone would replace him. A trace of surprise flashed across Ji Lin's face. However, he didn't show it and only stood silently on the spot. If Qin Yin really stripped him of his position as the manager of the Heavenly Book Pavilion, he wouldn't have any complaints. Who asked the Lu residents to have such a genius like Lu Feng? However, unexpectedly, Lu Feng stepped out of the ranks. He held the jade tablet and knelt on both knees. Your Highness, Lu Feng is only a mediocre person. The reason why I can write a low-grade heavenly book is because I admire Your Highness. Lu Feng doesn't want any title. I only hope that Your Highness can grant Lu Feng a chance to have a meal with Your Highness alone. I hope that your highness will not refuse. As he spoke, he bowed deeply and bowed deeply. Feng Jixing couldn't help sighing inwardly. This Lu Feng was really throwing caution to the wind. Was he willing to give up the title of Marquis just for a kiss? Many of the generals were already furious. Zhang Wei, Wei Chou, Situ Sen, and the others knew that Lin Muyu and Qin Yin were already lovers. Now that Lu Feng was pestering them, it was truly infuriating. In the end, Wei Chou, the vice commander of the Dragon's Courage Legion, stepped out of the ranks and cupped his fists respectfully. Your Highness, Wei Chou has something to say. Qin Yin couldn't help but smile. She raised her hand and said, General Wei, please speak your mind. Wei Chou said, the Heavenly Book Pavilion is the Empire's Heavenly Book Realm's Mount Tai and the North Star of the Empire. It is a place that accepts famous scholars from all over the world. However, the Heavenly Book Pavilion has always existed for the Zhe Tian Palace. Everyone in the Heavenly Book Pavilion is your Highness's subjects. They receive the Emperor's salary and the Emperor's grace. Writing a heavenly book is also the subject's business. If someone were to threaten your Highness with a mere low-grade heavenly book and force your Highness to be alone with him, this general believes that such a person has evil intentions and should be executed for overstepping his boundaries. As he spoke, Wei Chou knelt on one knee and said, this subject requests the golden-armored warriors to go to the palace and drag Lu Feng out to be beheaded in public. Lin Muyu was stunned. She felt extremely gratified in her heart. She didn't expect Wei Chou to say such words that no one could refute. Situ Sen touched his nose and laughed in a low voice. Wei Chou, this brat, really has guts. What he said simply touched the bottom of my heart. Situ Shui chuckled and didn't say anything. Qin Yin was slightly stunned. Although she agreed with what Wei Chou said, she was the emperor after all. If she really killed Lu Feng, wouldn't it disappoint the hearts of the scholars in the world? Thus, she looked at Tang Xiaoxi for help. Tang Xiaoxi smiled as she stood up and said, although Lu Feng's words and actions have overstepped his boundaries, the Empress is benevolent and won't fuss over it with you. Lu Feng, listen to the announcement. Because you wrote a heavenly book, the Empress will confer you the title of Marquis when you will be rewarded with 5,000 gold coins. Lu Feng's body trembled. He was somewhat unwilling, but there was nothing he could do. He could only respectfully say, Lu Feng accepts the decree. I thank the Empress for her kindness. Tang Xiaoxi looked at Lu Feng from afar. A trace of displeasure flashed past her beautiful eyes as she smiled and said, Lu Feng, you have to remember that Her Highness is your subject and ruler. Her Highness will only be alone with the man she likes. It's a pity that it's not you. Don't force it. Otherwise, the crime of deceiving the ruler will exterminate your entire family. Do you understand? I will remember. Lu Feng nodded repeatedly. At the side, the Lu residence's patriarch, Lu Yan, the eldest son, Lu Heng, and the youngest daughter, Lu Ying, turned pale. No one expected that writing a low-grade heavenly book would cause such big trouble. Lin Muyu finally understood the painstaking efforts of Qin Yin to confer Tang Xiaoxi the title of Fu Gua Junju. The Empress was benevolent and some words couldn't be said. Therefore, it was up to Tang Xiaoxi to say it. One played the good cop and the other played the bad cop. This was the only way to win the hearts of the people. Unknowingly, Qin Yin's imperial skills seemed to have improved. Chapter 559. Creak. After pushing open the door, he saw a group of patrolmen standing there with serious expressions and swords in their hands. There were even 3 commanders among them. Xiao Han was an astute person. He said, Lord Jianghu, are you trying to imprison me? One of the commanders cupped his fists and said with a smile, we are only following orders. Please forgive us, Lord Xiao Han. I believe that Lord Abbot has his reasons. Please rest here for 3 to 5 days, and you should be released from your confinement. 3 to 5 days? Xiao Han frowned. Do you know that in 3 to 5 days, Sangnan province will change? Get out of the way, I want to see Jianghu. Xiao Han. The commander's face was filled with rage as he said, "Don't forget who you are. A mere patrol commander dares to address the Lord by his name? Do you think you can act arrogant just because you're capable in handling cases? Stay here, or don't blame us for being impolite. We are colleagues, we don't want to have a falling out with you." Xiao Han raised his eyebrows and suppressed his anger with difficulty. He cupped his fists respectfully and said, "Commander Fong, I would like to ask you to do something for me." "What is it? Speak." Fong Zun looked arrogant. "I want you to help me pass a message to the Valiant Dragon Legion. Tell them that I, Xiao Han, have something important to tell Commander Yu. You know people from the army?" Fong Zun couldn't help but sneer. "It's too late. Master has already said that you are not allowed to interact with anyone from the outside world. Xiao Han, just give up and stay here. Don't try to play any tricks, or you'll just be asking for trouble." "You!" Xiao Han clenched his fists, fighting chi swirled around his body and a gust of wind blew. "Xiao Han." Fong Zun said cautiously, "Are you trying to rebel?" The group of patrolmen pulled out their swords, some even pointed their crossbows at Xiao Han as if they were facing a great enemy. As long as Xiao Han made a move, they would definitely attack. After all, Xiao Han was the #1 arrester of the Fire Sparrow Division, so they had to be on guard. Sigh, Xiao Han sighed and loosened his fist. His eyes were filled with disappointment as he looked at the crowd and said, "You are all patrolmen of the Fire Sparrow Division, yet you can't tell right from wrong. What a misfortune for the Empire." "Fine, fine, all of you can stand guard outside." Xiao Han sat in his room in a daze. His heart was filled with a myriad of emotions. Unwillingness and indignation filled his heart. Not long after, chirp 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 sounds suddenly came from the windowsill. A small fiery red sparrow appeared on the windowsill. Suddenly, Xiao Han was startled and became overjoyed. "Fire sparrow, great, it's a fire sparrow." The fire sparrow was a type of bird that could track its target by smell. It was precisely because of this special ability that the Empire had regarded it as a great help in investigating cases for thousands of years. It was also because of this that the Fire Sparrow Division was called the Fire Sparrow Division. However, the number of fire sparrows was too small. There were no more than 20 fire sparrows in the entire Lanyan city. The price of a Fire Sparrow Division was so high that a single Fire Sparrow Division was sold for 100,000 Jin coins. As the #1 arrester of the Fire Sparrow Division, Xiao Han was naturally given a fire sparrow. This fire sparrow would come to find Xiao Han once a day, and the rest of the time, it would roam outside looking for food, maintaining its natural wild nature. "Huiyu, you're here, come quickly." Xiao Han raised his arm, and the fire sparrow immediately flew and landed on Xiao Han's arm, jumping up and down happily. Xiao Han had raised this fire sparrow for 3 years, and they had a good relationship. Now that Xiao Han was imprisoned here, seeing the fire sparrow again made him feel especially moved. He thought for a moment, then thought about what he had on him. There was a faint smell of alcohol on his palm. It was the smell that Zhang Wei had left behind last night. So, Xiao Han moved his palm in front of the fire sparrow and said, "Huiyu, smell this." Chirp chirp, the fire sparrow raised its small head, sniffed, and chirped. "Help me pass a letter to him." Xiao Han turned around, took out a brush and ink, and wrote on a small piece of paper, "Master Zhang Wei, I am the Fire Sparrow Division's Xiao Han that you saved last night. Please inform Commander Yu of the Dragon's Courage Legion that Tang Lu and Tang Tian's secret meeting last night was discovered by me. They were planning to assassinate Sangnan Province's chief executive, Su Jiantao. Xiao Han has already been imprisoned in the Fire Sparrow Division. I hope Master Zhang Wei can help me pass the message." After writing a few short sentences, he tied it to the fire sparrow's leg. This was Xiao Han's only hope. He gently caressed the fire sparrow's feathers, and said in a low voice, "Huiyu, the future of Sangnan Province depends on you. Go." Chirp chirp, the fire sparrow leaped up and flew out at a strange angle. Outside the window, a few Fire Sparrow Division patrolmen watched as the fire sparrow flew out. One of them immediately raised his crossbow and said, Xiao Han wants to use the fire sparrow to send a message outside. Bastard. However, a commander-level patrolman quickly pressed down on his crossbow and said, You're crazy, you even dare to kill the fire sparrow. Stop right now, do you know the value of this fire sparrow? But Master Abbot said that we can't let Xiao Han divulge any information. Damn it, just pretend you didn't see this fire sparrow and everything will be fine. Yes, Master. The commander raised his head to look at the direction in which the fire sparrow had flown and couldn't help but sigh. He turned to his subordinates and said, You all didn't see anything. If anyone dares to divulge this matter, I will definitely exterminate his entire family. All the patrolmen cupped their fists and said, Yes, Master. In the main camp of the Imperial Army, the shouts of training pierced through the sky. Rows and rows of cavalry galloped back and forth, while the infantry and shield soldiers in the training field rapidly changed their battle formations. On the viewing platform, Feng Jixing, Zhang Wei, Luo Yu, and the other generals squinted their eyes at the flying dust in front of them. Although they couldn't clearly see the changes in the battle formation, they all became complacent. The next time we meet the demons, how many armor demons can these 40,000 Imperial Army stop? Luo Yu asked with a smile. Feng Jixing held the hilt of his saber and said with a smile, If it was before the battle at Wildfire Plains, I have the confidence to resist 30,000 armor demons with this Imperial Army. However, after the battle at Wildfire Plains, Qian Feng is also training his combat skills. At the same time, he has also equipped the armor demons with better weapons, armors, and shields. It would be good if this Imperial Army could resist 20,000 armor demons. Zhang Wei was stunned. Our Imperial Army's training and battle strength can be counted as one of the best in the Empire, but this can only stop 20,000 demons? Never underestimate the battle strength of the armor demons. Feng Jixing said after taking a deep look at him. At this moment, a bird's chirp suddenly came from the sky. A fiery red bird followed a special scent and flew toward Zhang Wei. It actually landed on Zhang Wei's shoulder and jumped up and down. Damn, even a sparrow dares to bully me. Zhang Wei raised his hand and slapped it, saying, Little bird, you found the wrong person. My bird is much more majestic than you. Hurry up and scram, or else I'll use you to accompany my wine tonight. Wait. Feng Jixing hurriedly stopped and said, Idiot, can't you see that this is a fire sparrow? It's the Fire Sparrow Division's Fire Sparrow Division. There's a letter tied to its leg. Hurry up and take it down to take a look. Yes, Commander. Luo Yu went forward and grabbed the fire sparrow. After taking off the letter, the fire sparrow flew away. Luo Yu then respectfully handed the letter to Feng Jixing. Feng Jixing looked at the letter, and the more he read, the uglier his expression became. He raised his head and looked at Zhang Wei. You went to the red light district to drink again last night? I. Zhang Wei was sweating profusely. He did not know how to explain himself. Feng Jixing glared at him and said, I'll deal with you later. Bastard Zhang Wei, did you save a Fire Sparrow Division commander called Xiao Han last night? I think so. Zhang Wei scratched his head and said. Then who was the one who chased after Xiao Han last night? I think it was someone with a flame imprint. Maybe someone from the Tang family, Zhang Wei said. Please forgive me, Commander. I didn't dare to mention this to you because I was afraid you would scold me again. Feng Jixing opened his throat and roared, You don't know what's good for you. Tell me when I don't scold you. Reporting to Commander, you scold him every day. Luo Yu said respectfully. Feng Jixing gritted his teeth and walked down the observation platform. He said, Come, follow me to the Longdan army camp to see you. Yes. Rustle, rustle, rustle. The spiritual pen was waving slowly on a long sword, writing an obscure divine text. Lin Muyu's forehead was full of sweat. His handsome face was full of indignation. If Lu Feng could write a heavenly book, then he could also write a heavenly book if he had the right time and place. On the side, Chu Yao was brewing tea. She said with a smile, "You, don't rush. Write slowly. I heard that the heavenly book is about the state of mind. If you rush it, then it probably won't be a book." Sure enough, just as Chu Yao said, the heavenly book was soon written to waste. Lin Muyu said helplessly, "Sister Chu Yao is right. Rushing things won't work. It's not even a heavenly book." Chu Yao laughed. "All right, let's have a cup of tea first." "Okay." After putting down the spiritual pen, Lin Muyu took the teacup from Chu Yao's hand. A fragrant aroma lingered. He couldn't help but smile. "I haven't had tea and chat with Sister Chu Yao for a long time. You know that too." Chu Yao glanced at him, held the teacup, and took a sip of tea quietly and elegantly. As time passed, Chu Yao's cultivation became more and more profound, and her mature feminine charm became stronger. At this time, she had grown into a mature, graceful, and beautiful stunner. It was no wonder that so many aristocratic children in the capital broke the threshold of the spiritual medicine department to seek marriage. If it wasn't for Chu Yao's noble status as the great deacon of the spiritual medicine department, she might not have been able to withstand the pressure from various forces. Dong, 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 Wei Chao's voice came from outside. "Master, General Feng wants to see you for something important." Ignoring the fact that the tea was too hot, Lin Muyu gulped it down. It was so hot that her tongue stuck out. "What are you doing?" Chu Yao said with a smile. "I feel that I can't drink this tea when Brother Feng comes, so I have to drink a cup first. After all, it's rare to have a chance to drink tea made by Sister Chu Yao." At this time, Feng Jixing stepped into the side hall. He sniffed and said, "What a fragrant tea. It seems that the beauty Chu Yao must be here." Chapter 560. As expected, when Lin Muyu saw Xiao Han's letter, she knew that she would not be able to drink the tea. "Brother Feng, do you think Xiao Han can be trusted?" "Xiao Han has already been imprisoned by the Fire Sparrow Division. As for whether he can be trusted or not, we'll have to wait until Su Jiantao is assassinated by the demons." Lin Muyu stood up and put on her armor. She picked up her sword and said, "Sister Chu Yao, I'll have tea with you when I get back. I'll be heading out first." Chu Yao nodded, You two be careful." After leaving the side hall, Situ Sen, Situ Shui, Wei Chou and Fengxi, the four generals, cupped their fists and waited. "My lord, we are at your command. Gather 5,000 cavalrymen and follow me to the Fire Sparrow Division." "Yes, my lord." Wei Chou took the token and went to gather the troops. Feng Jixing squinted his eyes and smiled. Are you being impulsive again? The Fire Sparrow Division is on the same level as the 3 palaces and 6 divisions. If you send troops to the Fire Sparrow Division without permission, it'll be easy for people to gossip. Tang Lan and Su Muyun are waiting for you to make a mistake so that they can remove the 3 stars from your collar. Lin Muyu smiled. The Empire's military movements and food supplies are all under the control of the demons. 14 of the generals guarding the steel walls have been assassinated in the past few months. I really don't know how many demons have infiltrated Lan Yen City. The Fire Sparrow Division just sits there and does nothing. I've been waiting for this opportunity for too long. Don't tell me you want to." Feng Jixing could not help but take a deep breath. "Do you want to get rid of the Fire Sparrow Division?" "No." Lin Muyu shook her head. "I just want to get rid of the abbot of the Fire Sparrow Division, Jianghu. He's in cahoots with Tang Lan, he'll only be a scourge if we let him live." Feng Jixing muttered, That's fine. I'll go with you." "All right." Not long after, the army was assembled. 5,000 soldiers of the Longdan army camp were waiting to set off. Under Lin Muyu's command, they rushed out of the camp and went straight to Flamingo. It had been a long time since there had been such a battle on Skyspan Street. It was as if a war was about to break out. Outside the Fire Sparrow Division, the dozen or so patrolmen did not even have time to react before they saw the entire Fire Sparrow Division surrounded by the cavalry of the Longdan army camp. The tense atmosphere almost scared the wits out of them. After all, most of the patrolmen in the Fire Sparrow Division were ordinary citizens, not soldiers. When Lin Muyu and Feng Jixing dismounted, the group of patrolmen knelt down and said, "Greetings, marquises. Get out of my way." Lin Muyu said calmly and entered the Fire Sparrow Division with her sword in hand. Behind her, Wei Chou, Situ Sen, Situ Shui and the rest led the troops and rushed in. In the blink of an eye, the inner courtyard of the Fire Sparrow Division was under control. "What's wrong? What's wrong?" A group of patrolmen rushed out of the barracks and looked at the Imperial Army outside in shock. Lin Muyu raised her hand and said, "Men, take away their weapons." Wei Chou gestured with his hand, and immediately, a group of brave Dragon Battalion soldiers with decent cultivation stepped forward and disarmed the hundreds of Fire Sparrow Division patrolmen. Only when these Fire Sparrow Division patrolmen were empty-handed, did Abbot Jianghu's voice finally come from the depths of the courtyard. "So it's Commander Yu, this old man Jianghu has come to greet you." Jianghu was dressed in the uniform of the Abbot of the Fire Sparrow Division with a sword hanging from his waist. He led dozens of patrolmen out, many of whom were commanders. "Oh." Looking at the disarmed patrolmen in the courtyard, Jianghu couldn't help but be shocked. "Commander Yu, Commander Feng, what is the meaning of this? Why did you rush into the Fire Sparrow Division and disarm my people?" Lin Muyu smiled. "I suspect that someone in the Fire Sparrow Division is colluding with the demons, so I came to investigate. Master Jianghu, I hope you will cooperate with my investigation. Tell your men to put down their weapons." "What did you say?" In the crowd, the commander of the patrolmen, Fang Zun, had a face full of anger. "Marquis Yunling, our Fire Sparrow Division is on the same level as the Imperial Army. What right do you have to trespass and disarm us?" Lin Muyu smiled. "Because I have a strong army." "What, are you not satisfied?" Her words were very arrogant, leaving Fang Zun speechless. Wei Chou was a little impatient. "Men, disarm all their weapons. If there is any resistance, kill them on the spot." A group of Longdan army camp soldiers all drew their longbows. The white diamond arrows glowed in the sunlight. Everyone knew about the strength of the Longdan army camp. Jianghu naturally did not want the people he had worked so hard to recruit to die under the arrows of the Longdan army camp. He sighed helplessly. "Everyone put down your weapons and do not resist. Her Highness will give justice to the Fire Sparrow Division's abbot. The world is clear and bright, and we will not allow anyone to act recklessly." Lin Muyu smiled faintly, raised her hand and ordered her men to collect the weapons of the Fire Sparrow Division patrolmen. Her eyes turned cold as she said, "Your Excellency Jianghu, please take me to your patrol commander, Xiao Han." "Xiao Han?" Jianghu's body trembled. He knew that things were not as simple as he had thought. If Lin Muyu knew of Xiao Han's existence, then it meant that he already knew about Tang Lu and Tang Tian's secret meeting with the demon race. It would also implicate Jianghu's bribery. Then, something big had happened. At that moment, Jianghu felt that breathing had become very difficult. In the backyard, a group of patrolmen were quickly disarmed. When the door of one of the rooms in the backyard opened, Xiao Han walked out with a face full of shock. He saw Jianghu standing there with an ashen face. All of the patrolmen from the Fire Sparrow Division had been disarmed, and 2 young generals of the Empire with 3-star military ranks were standing there. The only 2 people who had survived the legendary wind, rain, thunder and lightning were standing right in front of him. Xiao Han stepped forward and suddenly knelt on one knee. "Xiao Han," greets the 2 commanders. "Rise." Lin Muyu took out Xiao Han's letter and asked, "Xiao Han, everything you wrote, is it true?" "Absolutely true," Xiao Han said in a deep voice. "If there is a single lie, I am willing to die 1,000 times." "Good." Lin Muyu turned to look at Jianghu. "Master Jianghu, I have a question for you." "What is it?" Jianghu muttered. "Why did you imprison Xiao Han? He is the #1 constable of Fire Sparrow Division. Logically speaking, he should be protected in every possible way. Why did you imprison your subordinate's beloved general?" Jianghu's expression was aghast. Jianghu has no respect for his superiors. He is audacious. As the abbot of Fire Sparrow Division, I naturally have to punish him. Is that so? Did Jianghu tell you about the demon race's plot to assassinate Sangnan Province's Su Jiantao? Lin Muyu's words were like swords, causing Jianghu to break out in cold sweat uncontrollably. After a few seconds, he stammered and said, "Yes, but I don't think he has any solid evidence. Slandering Marquis of North Ridge and Marquis of West Ridge is already a capital offense, so I imprisoned him." Is that so? Lin Muyu could not help but laugh. Men, take control of Fire Sparrow Division. Thoroughly investigate all the files that Master Jianghu is in charge of. I want to see if Fire Sparrow Division is just a small yamen. As she spoke, Lin Muyu looked at Xiao Han. Xiao Han, you should know more about Jianghu's misdeeds than anyone else. I will leave this matter to you. Xiao Han was startled and said, "Commander Yu, please find someone else." Why? Xiao Han cupped his fists and said, "Xiao Han told Milord about the demon race's conspiracy. This is a righteous cause, and Milord Jianghu has always trusted Xiao Han. If this subordinate personally investigated Milord Jianghu, how would this be different from an ungrateful villain? This is a small matter." That is why Xiao Han refused. Feng Jixing could not help but laugh. What a loyal and righteous Xiao Han. All right, I'll let Ayu handle this matter personally. Lin Muyu stared at him with hidden bitterness. There were so many files in Fire Sparrow Division. If he had to go through them one by one, it would be better to kill him with a knife. So he waved his hand and said, "Wei Chou, Situ Shui, the two of you will investigate this matter. In addition, send a letter to inform Su Jiantao not to go out in the near future. Even if he goes out, he must bring a large number of troops with him. Let him be careful." Yes. Wei Chou cupped his fists and turned to write the letter. Lin Muyu said, "General Sun, choose 20 experts from the Longdan army camp. Let them immediately go to the Five Valleys city to be Su Jiantao's bodyguards. Nothing must happen to Su Jiantao. In addition, let them bring 5 earth books with them to prevent any accidents." Yes. Lin Muyu's eyes were cold. She glanced at Jianghu and said, "Jianghu, seeing that you and the late Grand Deacon Lei Hong were old acquaintances, I will not make things difficult for you. I only hope that you will be honest with me and I will plead with His Highness to spare your life." Jianghu said, I have never colluded with the demons. Heaven and earth can testify to this. But you connived." Lin Muyu's voice was very cold. "Men, put Jianghu under house arrest. Xiao Han will be in charge of all the daily affairs of Fire Sparrow Division. Wei Chou and Situ Shui stay behind to check the files. I will go to Zai Tian Temple to ask for an edict. From now on, Xiao Han will be the new abbot of Fire Sparrow Division. I hope that you will fulfill your duties and serve the Empire. Return peace to Yanlan City." Xiao Han trembled. He cupped his fists and said, "Subordinate Xiao Han, will not disappoint Commander Yu." Originally, it was not appropriate for a commander of the Empire to say such words. However, Lin Muyu's identity was too special. He was the foster son of the former emperor and the foster brother of the empress. He did indeed have the ability to control Fire Sparrow Division. Just as Feng Jixing often said, "You will give Xiao Yin some pillow talk." What can't he do? Only Feng Jixing dared to say such words. In the afternoon, Qin Yin personally issued an edict to temporarily remove Jianghu from the position of abbot of Fire Sparrow Division. Xiao Han was appointed as the new abbot of Fire Sparrow Division. At the same time, he was to immediately investigate the matter of the demon spies. The news spread quickly. It was the turn of the people of the Seven Seas Palace to be restless. Fire Sparrow Division was investigated and Jianghu was imprisoned. This meant that the matter of Tang Lu and Tang Tian colluding with the demons would soon be exposed. Chapter 561. What should we do? What should we do? inside the Seven Seas King's mansion, Tang Lu was fidgeting restlessly. His hands were trembling as he held a teacup, and the tea almost spilled out. Tang Tian, who was beside him, wasn't any better. His face was pale as he said, Lin Muyu actually attacked the Firefinch division. Grandfather, if he and Xiao Han investigate together, second brother and I will be found out sooner or later. Tang Lan leaned on her walking stick and looked at her two good-for-nothing grandsons indifferently. What are you panicking about? Do you have any irrefutable evidence in the hands of Xiao Han or Lin Muyu? That's not true. Tang Lu said, but Xiao Han heard our negotiation with the demon race. Once he reports us, I'm afraid, report you? Tang Lan said in a low voice, there's no concrete evidence. What right does he have to report you? Xiao Han can't bear the crime of falsely accusing Marquis Lin Bei and Marquis Lin Shi. Why are you two so impatient? If the enemy doesn't move, we won't move. How can you achieve anything great by being so flustered? I'm so disappointed. Tang Lu said, but grandfather, what should we do now? What else can we do? Tang Lan's eyes were filled with deep disappointment. It's a pity that Xiao Shi is inseparable from the Empress. Otherwise, she might be able to help. Yes, yes. Tang Tian nodded repeatedly. He had completely lost his composure. At this moment, an official walked in and said respectfully, Your Highness, the son-in-law of Marquis Pingnan, Xiangyu, requests an audience. Oh. Tang Lan looked up and said, Invite Marquis Pingnan in. Yes. Xiangyu walked in, travel-worn. Beside him was Princess Wei, Tang Wei, who was also his newlywed wife. Tang Wei had a blissful smile on her face. It seemed that she and Xiangyu had just gotten married and were deeply in love with each other. Xiangyu pays his respects to Your Highness. Although Xiangyu was already the son-in-law of the Tang family, he still didn't dare to be arrogant. He knelt on one knee and paid his respects. Marquis Pingnan, please rise. Tang Lan raised her hand and said, You two seem to be in a hurry. What's the matter? Xiangyu replied, Naturally, it's because of the Fire Sparrow division. There are rumors that the two young masters, Tang Lu and Tang Tian, are secretly in contact with the demon race. Lin Muyu and Feng Jixing are currently investigating this matter. I'm not sure if it's true. Tang Lu was startled, and laughed, Brother-in-law, what are you saying? Why would Tang Tian and I do such a thing? Xiangyu said indifferently, Young masters, there's no need to hide it from me at this time. Xiangyu is Princess Wei's husband and can already be considered half a member of the Tang clan. If the Tang clan doesn't trust me, I'm afraid. Tang Lan raised her hand and said, Marquis Pingnan, don't be angry. This matter still needs to be considered at length. It seems like the rumors outside are true. Xiangyu narrowed his eyes and said with a smile, Your Highness, has our Tang clan really contacted the devil race in private? It can't be considered a private meeting. It's just a transaction. Tang Lan's voice was very calm as she said, The Tang clan's influence in North Ridge province is declining day by day. If nothing unexpected happens, it won't be long before Her Highness the Empress will eliminate our influence one by one from Lanyan City. Although we are officials, we must also consider our own future. Xiangyu said, Yes, but I don't know what kind of transaction it was. If it's just to kill a governor of Tsangnan province, I'm afraid it's not enough. Tang Lan said, Naturally, it's not just this. But this time, the matter was actually exposed. It's all because of these two good-for-nothing descendants of the Tang clan who were too careless. Sigh, it really disappoints me. Grandfather. Tang Lu and Tang Tian's faces were full of shame, and they couldn't speak. Xiangyu smiled and said, Your Highness, I've seen Xiao Han before. He's a cautious and meticulous person. It's very difficult for those who are targeted by him to escape. This matter can't be completely blamed on the two young masters. Tang Lan said, Lin Muyu and Feng Jixing are investigating the Fire Sparrow division. Sooner or later, Tang Lu and Tang Tian's matter will be implicated. The two of them are the last of our Tang clan's male bloodline. We absolutely cannot lose them. We must think of a method that satisfies both sides. Marquis Pingnan, do you have any brilliant plan? It can't be considered a brilliant plan. It's just a last resort. Please speak. Xiangyu cupped his fists and said, Your Highness, since Lin Muyu and Feng Jixing are investigating the Fire Sparrow Division, there's no need for us to panic. Let's just pretend this matter didn't happen. It's almost time for the spring recruitment. Your Highness, why don't you send the two young masters to the Seven Seas province to recruit soldiers? At the same time, order them to take charge of the Seven Seas province's military. After taking charge of the military, Lin Muyu and Feng Jixing naturally won't be able to do anything to the two young masters. This is like letting the tiger return to the mountain. It should be able to solve this urgent problem. Good, that's exactly what I was thinking. Tang Lan smiled and said, Tang Lu, Tang Tian, the two of you listen up. Immediately take my Tang clan's iron order and head to the Seven Seas province to command the troops. Remember, the Seven Seas province has close to 300,000 new and old soldiers. The two of you must train the troops diligently. Don't slack off. If you continue to play around and mess things up, I definitely won't let you off lightly. Many thanks, grandfather. Tang Lu and Tang Tian knelt down at the same time and said, We won't disappoint grandfather again. Tang Lan glanced at Xiangyu intentionally or unintentionally, and the corners of his mouth curled up as he said, Depart in 3 days. Yes. How about Marquis Pingnan stay behind for a reunion dinner? Yes. Late at night, Xiangyu and Tang Wei both left the Seven Seas Lord's palace with their guards and returned to their own residences, whereas the lights in Tang Lan's room were still dim. Tang Lu and Tang Tian stood at the side and watched Tang Lan sip his tea. Finally, Tang Lu lost his patience and said, Grandfather, when exactly did you summon the two of us here in the middle of the night? Tang Lan's aged eyes looked at the two of them and said, After the 5th watch, the two of you change into casual clothes and depart. Go out of the small western gate of Lanyan City and find the Tang clan's barracks 5 kilometers away. Dispatch 5,000 armored cavalry to accompany you and depart. You must leave Lanyan City at daybreak and must arrive at the Seven Seas Pass before sunset the day after tomorrow. Understand? Tang Lu was taken aback. But grandfather, didn't you say we'll depart in 3 days? Why are you in such a hurry? Little brother Tian and I still have many things to pack. Don't pack. When you arrive at Seven Seas Pass, what will you lack? Tang Lan looked at his two grandsons and said, The two of you are the last hope of the Tang clan. I can't let the two of you lose your lives in Lanyan City. The two of you must live up to expectations and cannot continue living in such a muddle-headed manner. Look at Lin Muyu and Feng Jixing. They are about the same age as the two of you, but they can already assume responsibility and assume the position of commander of the Empire's army. The two of you, if the two of you don't live up to expectations, the Tang clan will really be finished. Tang Tian nodded. Grandfather, we understand. We'll depart at the 5th watch. Remember to change into casual clothes and leave from the back door of the residence. Don't alarm anyone. Just the two of you leaving the city will be enough. I've already established a connection with the guards at the city gate. They will naturally let you out of the city. Yes, I understand. Tang Lu knelt on the ground and raised his head to look at Tang Lan. His body was slightly trembling as he said, Grandfather, Tang Lu also hopes to be able to carry the Tang clan's foundation, and I also hope to be able to become even stronger. I know that it's very difficult for grandfather to support it all by himself, but please believe me. Little brother Tian and I will surely become even stronger, and we won't disappoint grandfather. Go. Tang Lan waved his hand and said, I won't see you off. The two of you must take care of yourselves. The future of the Tang clan lies in the hands of the two of you. Don't let me down. Yes. After the 5th watch, 2 fast horses hurriedly left the back door of the Tang residence and disappeared into the night in the blink of an eye. After passing through the west gate of Lanyan City, the sky had already begun to brighten. After entering the Tang clan's camp in the west of the city, a general came forward to welcome them. He cupped his fists and said, "General Tang Su has received orders from His Highness. The 5,000 light cavalrymen are ready to depart at any time. Young masters, should we depart immediately?" "Let's depart." Tang Lu nodded his head. After experiencing the events of last night, he seemed to have matured a lot in an instant. In his and Tang Tian's memories, Tang Lan was always so smart and capable and in control of everything. But just last night, Tang Lu saw an aged and helpless expression on his grandfather's face. He felt extremely distressed. Tang Lan was old and was powerless. The future of the Tang clan could only depend on themselves. Tang Su raised his long whip and loudly said, "Brothers, let's depart. We will escort the two young masters back to the Seven Seas province. We will take the small path and avoid the official road." The majestic cavalrymen stirred up a cloud of dust. Everyone avoided the main road and passed through the small path. This group of light cavalrymen were all equipped with crossbows and spears. They could be considered the most elite troops of the Tang clan. At this time, this army also carried Tang Lan's last hope. The army galloped through the forest until sunset. They rested at the edge of the forest, fed the horses, and didn't rest after eating a full meal. They once again mounted their horses and madly galloped in the direction of the Seven Seas Pass. Although Tang Lu didn't understand the art of war, he knew that speed was important in war. The faster he moved, the safer he would be. After all, Lin Muyu and Feng Jixing might not be aware that he and Tang Tian had already left Lanyan City. The curtain of night descended. In the middle of the night, a bright moon hung in the sky, illuminating the forest in all directions. It seemed to bring a trace of precious warmth to the chilly forest. Tang Lu had an exhausted expression as he spurred his horse to gallop swiftly. At the side, Tang Tian spoke with slight anger. "Second brother, why are we marching like this? There aren't any pursuers behind us. We're just torturing ourselves. Grandfather is also too much. He made us leave in such a hurry. I didn't even have time to tidy up. We didn't even bring out a single one of our dancers." Tang Lu frowned and said, "Stop complaining, you insensible fellow." Tang Tian still wanted to argue, but he suddenly saw an icy light charging into the sky from afar, and he couldn't help but turn pale with fright. "Second brother, be careful. There's someone there." "What?" Tang Lu, Tang Su, and the others looked over, only to see a dense icy light in the forest at the side of the small path. In the sky, a black figure stepped on the icy light as he approached. He wore a black robe, but it was difficult to conceal the 3 dazzling golden stars on his collar and the armor beneath his battle robe. With a clang, he pulled out the long sword on his back. Starlight flickered as he laughed in a low voice. "Tang Lu, Tang Tian, do you two pieces of trash think you can escape?" Lin Muyu. Tang Lu and Tang Su's faces were ashen at the same time. Chapter 562. Protect the young master, kill them. Tang Su pulled out his sword and led a group of light cavalry to charge forward. From afar, a group of light cavalry raised their bows and arrows, and in an instant, a series of black arrows shot into the sky. Die! The newcomer raised his long sword and suddenly slashed out a frosty sword chi. Shwa! The fierce frosty chi covered the sky and covered the earth. In the blink of an eye, more than a dozen light cavalrymen were already covered in frost. In an instant, their lives were taken away by the power of the frost. Tang Su's face was aghast. He leaped up from his horse and with his sword, he roared, "Lin Muyu, don't you dare bully my Seven Seas Tang sect, get down here." However, the Lin Muyu in front of him raised his palm and flew out. In the air, a sparkling ice shield quickly condensed, deflecting Tang Su's sword and tens of arrows. Still thinking of leaving? A powerful domain aura engulfed the surroundings, causing a group of Tang family's light cavalry to be unable to move. Lin Muyu stepped on the snowy light and rushed down, his long sword descending from the sky, straight towards Tang Tian's direction. Bastard! Tang Tian raised his hand and a fire fox seal appeared. The fire fox martial spirit roared fiercely, but just as Lin Muyu's sword fell, the tyrannical ice energy surged, and the air seemed to freeze. Hiss sound of ice condensing could be heard, and the extremely hot fire fox martial spirit was actually frozen. Ah! Tang Tian was dumbfounded, but his body was already unable to move. Kacha! The sword light swept past, and Tang Tian was immediately split into two. His head and shoulders were chopped off from the back of the war horse, and his upper body fell to the ground with a kacha sound. The Tang sect soldiers at the side were scared out of their wits. He killed young Master Tang Tian, he killed young Master Tang Tian. Amidst the screams, many of the soldiers had already abandoned their weapons and fled in panic. Going against such a strong holy king would only result in a crushing defeat. Swoosh! Tang Su's sword blade cut through the wind, and it was another biting cold strike. However, Lin Muyu seemed to have foreseen this. She turned around and kicked Tang Su's wrist with a blood-red cyclone surrounding her ankle. With a peng sound, she broke Tang Su's wrist. Then, she followed up with another kick. Tang Su instantly fell into the weeds far away like a kite with a broken string. While he was in the air, he shouted, "Change to a white drill arrow. We must protect the young master." The light cavalrymen in the front and back arrived one after another. They switched to their longbows, drew their arrows, and began to shoot fiercely. Dang dang dang, the white drill arrows hit the ice shield again and again. After all, it was difficult for one fist to fight against four hands. Lin Muyu's do chi had obviously dimmed a lot. Under the moonlight, his pair of eyes actually had a faint purple glow. He looked at the enemies around him ferociously and roared, "You are courting death." Hua! His figure suddenly dashed down from the sky, and his sword descended from the sky towards the crowd, causing another few tens of people to be frozen into pieces of ice. His sword light flashed before vanishing, and he headed straight for the fleeing Tang Lu. Bastard! Tang Lu suddenly turned around, and the fire fox seal in his hand soared into the sky. At the same time, the light on his sword surged. This was the light of the mid-grade earth book. An earthy yellow light soared into the sky, and the power of heaven and earth had already been activated. Flames whizzed out and went straight for the attacker's body. Pung! The ice shield collided with the mid-grade earth book's raging flames. Instantly, the flames surged and burned, and the surrounding Tang sect soldiers who couldn't dodge in time wailed miserably. The long sword in Tang Lu's hand produced a protective force, allowing Tang Lu to avoid all of the raging flames like a rock. Shwa! The sword light split the raging flames. In the end, Lin Muyu began to surpass the might of the mid-grade earth book, and the long sword flashed past. Ka! Tang Lu screamed miserably. The arm that was holding the weapon was directly chopped off. After losing the protection of the weapon, the raging flames swept over and engulfed his body. Young master! Young master! In the surroundings, a group of 7 Seas City soldiers were dumbstruck, and they were scared out of their wits. After a few seconds, angry roars soared into the sky, and one by one, they rushed towards Lin Muyu, who was temporarily in the sky without a care for their lives. At this moment, Lin Muyu continuously killed so many people, and his strength was already unable to maintain. With a light wave of the long sword, another wave of ice energy surged out, and tens of soldiers holding spears froze to death. A group of reckless fools. He laughed sinisterly, turned around, and shot out like lightning, disappearing into the boundless curtain of night in the blink of an eye. It's over, it's all over. Tang Su laid on the ground covered in blood, and his face was ashen. With Tang Lu and Tang Tian dead, the Tang clan was already without descendants. Who would inherit half of Tang Land's empire? Huff, huff, amidst heavy gasps of breath, Lin Muyu dashed for nearly 5 kilometers under the moonlight before hurriedly stopping. He lifted the cloak on his head, and his young face seemed extremely resolute under the illumination of the moonlight. His eyes emitted a dense purple light, and an unending stream of Grandmaster Devil energy surged out from his body to heal his injuries. How was this Lin Muyu? He was a high-ranked devil of the 5-star devil ancestor rank. Bai Bing, one of the 15 elders of the devil race, and also the youngest elder. He was proficient in ice attribute absolute arts. With a light scream, Bai Bing pulled out a white drill arrow that had shot into his arm, and threw it to the side. The white drill arrow emitted a clear, ding sound as it hit the rock. He clenched his teeth, and dense frost condensed on his palm to freeze the wound. His eyes were filled with dense rage as he said indifferently, "A mere Tang Lu and Tang Tian were actually able to injure me. Humph, simply detestable. But once Tang Lu and Tang Tian are dead, the Seven Seas province will probably fall into chaos. Old bastard Tang Lan's lifespan is approaching its end, and I want to see who else he can rely on to inherit his authority." As he spoke, Bai Bing cried out in pain once more, and the corners of his mouth curled into a smile that was extremely savage. "Lin Muyu, the rest is up to you." He. After the fierce battle, the numerous bonfires in the forest still hadn't been extinguished. Tang Su held his sword in a daze as he slowly walked between the numerous corpses, and his face was filled with regret and despair as he looked at Tang Tian's body that had been split into two. What should I do? What should I do? If His Highness blames me, I'm afraid my entire family will be annihilated, General. The nearby captain said, "This matter can't be blamed on you. Lin Muyu is truly too strong. Moreover, he obstructed us here in the middle of the night. I'm afraid no one would be able to resist him. We'll report this matter truthfully to His Highness." What's the use of that? Tang Su laughed bitterly. Only he knew that Tang Lu and Tang Tian were Tang Lan's final hopes. Once these two people died, Tang Lan's world was practically equivalent to collapsing. Under his rage, not to mention himself, the heads of these 5,000 people would probably fall to the ground. Just at this moment, a woo-woo scream suddenly came from the midst of the pile of corpses. One of the soldiers who was transporting the corpses stared dumbfoundedly at the person lying in the middle of the bonfire. It was as if he had seen a ghost. Suddenly, he laughed wildly and said, "Young master didn't die, young master didn't die." What? Tang Su hurriedly raised his sword and rushed over. He knelt on one knee beside Tang Lu's body. Borrowing the moonlight and the light from the torches, he saw that Tang Tian's right arm had already been chopped off. His face and chest had been burned into a mess by the flames, and he was almost unrecognizable. His voice was extremely soft, but it was like a flickering flame of hope as he said, "Commander Tang Su. This subordinate is here, this subordinate is here." Tang Su was extremely excited. Tang Lu took a deep breath and only then did he have the strength to continue saying, "Quickly use healing medicine to heal my wounds. Also, I have a low-grade book embryo of the Law of Life in my spatial bag. Take it out, and use it to save me." "Yes." Tang Su hurriedly took out a shield from Tang Lu's spatial bag. With a light turn of his wrist, he willed it. Immediately, a green light poured into Tang Lu's body. Those burns actually slowly healed at a speed visible to the naked eye. Although it still looked so tragic, there was already a trace of blood. This proved that Tang Lu's life could be saved. "Help me sit up," Tang Lu said in a weak voice. "Yes." Tang Su hurriedly placed a military bag behind Tang Lu and helped him up to lean against it. He said, "Young master, if you have anything to say, just say it. I'll treat your wounds." As he spoke, Tang Su opened a bottle of high-quality healing medicine, and the medicinal liquid ceaselessly poured onto Tang Lu's severed arm and burned wounds. Traces of coolness seeped into his body, causing Tang Lu to be unable to help but quiver and suck in a breath of cold air. After a while, Tang Lu said, "Commander Tang Su, don't spread the news that I'm still alive." "Yes." Tang Su nodded. Tang Lu continued, let the soldiers surround this place and forbid them from talking to each other. Forget about the soldiers on the periphery, kill all the soldiers who see me alive. Give their families double the compensation. Yes. Tang Su's heart went cold. He had never imagined that Tang Lu would be so ruthless. Tang Lu's breathing was somewhat hurried as he said, announce to the outside world that I'm already dead and that the person who killed me and brother Tian was Lin Muyu. The people of Iha country saw Lin Muyu use a supreme technique of the laws of ice in the heavenly tome monolith forest to instantly kill many people. This debt will be placed on his head. Take the corpses of brother Tian and the soldiers who died in battle back to Lanyan City and seek justice for the Tang family at the Zhe Tian Hall. In addition, send 2 people to escort me to the Seven Seas province. Just treat it as if I, Tang Lu, am no longer in this world. Why? Because someone wants me dead. Tang Lu's eyes were filled with coldness as he said, I must die. Only after I die can I find out who it is that wants me dead so badly. I will make them pay tenfold. Yes, this subordinate understands. In addition, the news that I'm not dead can only be told to grandfather. Commander Tang Su, you must keep it a secret, understood? Understood. Find a charred corpse and treat it as my corpse. Bring it back to Lanyan City. Yes. Under the moonlight, quite a few soldiers began to cry. Tang Su's eyes were also red. After bringing the corpses of the 2 young masters, he said, brothers, let's return to Lanyan City and seek justice for the 2 young masters of our Tang family. They cannot die in vain. The murderer, Lin Muyu, must receive the severe punishment of the Zhe Tian Hall. Chapter 563. One day later, in Lanyan City, a group of cavalrymen slowly entered the Seven Seas monarch's residence. Tang Lan, Tang Wei, and Xiangyu, who had received the news in advance, were already waiting in the front courtyard of the residence to welcome them. When they saw several soldiers carrying Tang Lu and Tang Tian's corpses into the residence, Tang Lan couldn't help but tear up. Lifting the white cloth, they saw Tang Tian's still frozen and broken body. He had been split into 3 parts by a sword and died a miserable death. When they saw Tang Lu's corpse, Tang Lan was already sobbing. The white-haired person had to send off the black-haired person. The world was extremely miserable. Tang Wei's eyes were red as she looked coldly at Tang Su and said sternly, Commander Tang Su, how did you do things? Why are you still standing there alive after Tang Lu and Tang Tian were assassinated? Tang Su didn't say anything. He just slowly knelt down and remained silent. Xiangyu held Tang Wei's shoulder and said, Xiao Wei, calm down first. As he spoke, Xiangyu walked forward and held Tang Lan's arm, saying, Your Highness, please restrain your grief and accept fate. What we need to do now is to immediately find out the real culprit and avenge the 2 young masters. No matter who it is, since they dared to provoke the Seven Seas Tang sect, they must bear the consequences. Xiangyu's eyes were filled with coldness and killing intent. Tang Lan asked with a trembling voice, Commander Tang Su, what's going on? Who dares to assassinate my 2 grandsons? It was Lin Muyu. Tang Su trembled all over and said, he had the power of the sacred domain and was also well versed in the law of ice chi. The sword he used looked no different from the astral treasured sword. Your Highness, he wore a 3-star military rank, an imperial commander-level military rank. If it wasn't Lin Muyu, who else could it be? Lin Muyu. Lin Muyu. Tang Lan seemed to instantly age to the point where he was about to pass away. He slumped to the ground and said, preserve all the evidence of Lin Muyu's assassination of Tang Lu and Tang Tian. Tang Su failed to protect them. Men, throw Tang Su into the death cell and choose a day to execute him. Tomorrow, follow me to the palace. I, Tang Lan, will seek justice for Tang Lu and Tang Tian even if I have to risk my old bones. Your Highness. Tang Su knelt on the ground, his face filled with confusion. Xiangyu walked forward and easily removed the 3-star military insignia from Tang Su's collar. He said indifferently, trash, even 5,000 people could not save the lives of the two young masters. What use are you? Tang Su lowered his head and said nothing. At night, the Tang sect wore mourning clothes and placed Tang Lu's and Tang Tian's memorial tablets in the main hall. The weeping sounds of the womenfolk rang out unceasingly. Not long after, Tang Xiaoxi also arrived. Although Tang Lu and Tang Tian had always been at odds with her, they were, after all, siblings who had grown up together. Now that she saw Tang Lu and Tang Tian dead, Tang Xiaoxi naturally didn't feel good in her heart. Grandpa, Tang Xiaoxi held Tang Lan's arm. Looking at Tang Lan's pale face, Tang Xiaoxi felt her heart ache. She said, "Grandpa, don't torture your body. Why don't you eat something first?" "I can't eat." Tang Lan's voice was a little weak as she said, "I did not expect that Lin Muyu would actually act so viciously, killing two of my Tang family's heirs in one fell swoop, severing the bloodline of the Tang sect." "Lin Muyu, Lin Muyu, what have I, Tang Lan, done to you? Just come at me, why did you kill my Lu, and Tian, no?" Tang Xiaoxi shook her head repeatedly. "Mu isn't that kind of person, he wouldn't do such a thing." "Grandpa, leave this matter to me, I will definitely get to the bottom of it." "No need." Tang Lan shook his head. "The evidence is conclusive, it is indeed Lin Muyu. Xiao Shi, you keep watch for the two elder brothers. Grandpa wants to go see what that trash Tang Su has to say." Tang Xiaoxi knew that she couldn't refute Tang Lan's thoughts, and she could only take it one step at a time. Death row prison of the king's mansion. Tang Su's arms were strung up, and his body was riddled with scars. Those who entered the death row prison were naturally not treated well. However, Tang Su had trained in martial arts, and this torture was not enough to kill him. "Your Highness." A group of prison guards cupped their fists and saluted. Tang Lan nodded and said, "All of you are dismissed. Guard the outside well, without my orders, no one is to enter." "Yes." The prison guards were all dismissed, and the entire death row prison was only left with Tang Lan, Tang Su, and Tang Lan's 4 personal guards. Seeing Tang Su's wretched appearance, Tang Lan nodded and said, "Men, release Commander Tang Su." "Yes." The guards stepped forward to remove Tang Su's shackles, bringing a stool for him to sit down. "Commander Tang Su, it has been hard on you." Tang Lan also sat down, saying passively, "Now you can tell me, who was it that tried to assassinate my Lu, and Tian, Tang Su was startled. "Your Highness already knows that it wasn't Lin Muyu?" Tang Lan's voice was cold. "Lin Muyu is currently investigating the Flame Cranes Division's case, and he was still at Flame Cranes Division last night. There is no way he could come and go without a trace and kill people hundreds of miles away. Tell me, who was it that was able to kill my 2 grandsons under the protection of 5,000 guards?" "I really don't know the specific identity of the assassin," Tang Su frowned, "but I can be sure that it wasn't Lin Muyu, because he didn't use the God-binding chains or the 7 luminaries' celestial gourd. He didn't even use the 7 luminaries' profound force or the star art. Instead, his moves seemed to be from another world, and his battle aura had a faint blood-red color." "Blood-red battle aura? Another world's move?" Tang Lan raised his eyebrows, saying, "If you have something to say, just say it." "Yes." Tang Su took a deep breath, saying, looking at his swordsmanship and battle aura, "I think he is a high-ranking demon." The red battle aura was a demonic battle aura and master demon force that he deliberately used. However, this person is good at using ice laws, so he pretended to be Lin Muyu, making the world think that it was Lin Muyu's star art's Jade Snow Ice. Lin Muyu displayed the power of the Jade Snow Ice in the White Leaves Forest, and now everyone knows that he is an expert in controlling ice. The demons must also think that this can fool the world. Demons? Tang Lan narrowed his eyes. "You mean to say that someone colluded with the high-ranking demons and used them to kill my 2 grandsons, right?" Tang Su cupped his fists. "Yes, this subordinate thinks so." Who would want the Tang clan to end its bloodline? The first possibility is Feng Jixing. Feng Jixing is under the direct command of Her Highness. If Her Highness wants to eliminate the Tang clan's military power, the first step would be to eliminate the Tang clan's descendants. The second possibility is Su Muyun. There are only 2 kings in the empire, and only Her Highness can fight against Su Muyun's powerful military power. As long as Her Highness dies, Su Muyun still has Su Yu and Luo Xian behind him, and half of the empire will fall into his hands. The third possibility is Qin Yi. The Lingnaniha nation has always been eyeing the empire covetously, and Her Highness and Su Muyun are the 2 pillars of the empire. If the Tang clan falls, Qin Yi will be one of the beneficiaries. Furthermore, with the death of the 2 young masters, there will definitely be internal unrest in the empire's military. This is what Qin Yi wants to see the most. The fourth possibility is Zheng Yifan. After returning to the empire, Zheng Yifan hasn't really taken the initiative, and his military power is also limited to the Divine Might Battalion. However, the empire already has the Imperial Guards and the Longdan army camp. Zheng Yifan wants to expand the army, but he doesn't have the strength to do so. Once the Tang clan falls into chaos, perhaps Zheng Yifan will have the opportunity to control part of the Seven Seas province's military power. The fifth possibility is... Tang Su suddenly paused and didn't continue speaking. Tang Lan smiled faintly and waved her hand. I know everything. There are countless possibilities. My Lu, and Tian were just fooling around, but because of their identity as descendants of the Tang sect, they were met with this unexpected disaster. No matter who killed them, I'll find out the truth and make them pay with their blood. Yes. Tang Su stood up and slowly knelt in front of Tang Lan. Your Highness, this subordinate has one more thing to tell you. What is it? Tang Su trembled as he took out a spatial bag from his bosom. It was a pure white spatial bag made of animal skin. Tang Lan recognized this spatial bag. It was a gift he had given to Tang Lu for his 18th birthday. Tang Lan's body trembled for a moment. This is, yes. Tang Su nodded. His eyes flickered with some joy. Although the owner of this spatial bag was seriously injured, he didn't die. Right now, he's already on the way to Seven Seas City. He asked me to tell Your Highness that he's already dead. He wants to become an invisible person and assist Your Highness in the dark. Tang Lan held the spatial bag and suddenly looked up to the sky and laughed. There was some vicissitudes and some gratification in his laughter. Your Highness, what should we do now? Tang Su asked. Follow me to the palace tomorrow. We'll use the material evidence and witnesses in our hands to testify against Lin Muyu for the crime of murder. Tang Lan's eyes were slightly fierce. This foster son of the former emperor has been tyrannical in Lanyan City for too long. It's time to let him know what retribution is. Yes. Late at night, Flamingo Division. Xiao Han flipped through the files with a distressed expression on his face. What's wrong? Can't find it? Lin Muyu sat at the side drinking tea and said with a smile. Can't find it. Xiao Han shook his head and said, Commander Yu, I think you should be concerned about the important matters that concern you. The Seven Seas King's estate has already sent out news that you've killed Tang Lu and Tang Tian. The Seven Seas King will surely seek justice from Her Highness the Empress during the Imperial Court Assembly tomorrow. Supposedly, their evidence is extremely conclusive. Commander Yu, you must be on guard against them. I know. Lin Muyu took a deep breath and said, what's going to come will come. Beside her, Feng Jixing stood up and said, You've been staying in the imperial capital. We also have very sufficient witnesses. Tomorrow, we'll see what material evidence Tang Lan can produce. Yes. Lin Muyu looked at the bright moon outside the window with a deep gaze and said, but who assassinated Tang Lu and Tang Tian? Who knows? Feng Jixing smiled faintly. There are too many people who want Tang Lu and Tang Tian dead, just like there are too many people who want you and me dead. Chapter 564. Empire Calendar, Year 7735, December 25th, 5 days before the Spring Plowing Festival, but today ushered in the final drama of the end of the year in the Qin Empire. In the morning, all the officials in Zetian Palace were silent, as if everyone knew that a storm was coming. Only Lin Muyu, Feng Jixing, and Wei Chou were discussing their experiences in practicing the diamond body protection. General Feng has already practiced to the seventh heaven? Wei Chou was shocked. That's amazing. I'm still practicing the third heaven, embracing the moon. Feng Jixing patted his chest. I'm so focused, so of course I can practice fast. If there's anything you don't understand, just ask me. I'll definitely teach you. Wei Chou laughed. That's great. I've always been puzzled about the embracing the moon. How can one hold the moon in one's arms? Commander, you taught me that it's very simple. Just imagine the feeling of holding a sister in one's arms. That's it. Pfft, Feng Jixing didn't know whether to laugh or cry. You is really misleading people. Holding a sister in one's arms. Bah, the true meaning of the embracing the moon is to be able to release and retract freely, with the right amount of strength. You can't rush it. Based on my experience, I should correct use words. Hugging a soft girl in one's arms is the correct way. You can imagine the feeling of hugging a delicate, jade-like girl in one's arms. You don't dare to use too much strength, but you don't want to let go. Wei Chou was shocked. General Feng is really godly, Sidu Shui sneered at the side. General Feng is leading our commander astray again. No way. At this time, Chu Yao, who was dressed in the spiritual medicine department's deacon uniform, also walked over and said, "Why isn't your highness in the palace today? It's already half an hour late." "I don't know, she's probably putting on makeup," Lin Muyu said. Sure enough, after a few minutes, Qin Yin arrived late. Surrounded by a group of female officials, she walked into the Golden Hall and sat down in a dignified manner. She waved her hand and said, "Sirs, please rise. If you have something to report, please report. If not, please leave." Among the crowd, Tang Lan walked out shakily. With tears on his face, he said, "Your Highness, you must seek justice for this old subject." "What's the matter, 7C King? Just say it. What exactly happened?" Qin Yin asked. Tang Lan knelt on both knees and said, 2 days ago, this old subject ordered my 2 grandsons, Tang Lu and Tang Tian, to head to the Seven Seas province to recruit soldiers in order to increase the empire's military strength. Unexpectedly, my 2 grandsons were assassinated on the way there and their souls returned to the heavenly realm. This old subject's parting with this old subject is actually my last. I, Tang Lan, only have these 2 filial grandsons. Once they die, my Tang clan will no longer have any descendants. Your Highness, please give this old subject justice." "What?" Qin Yin was startled. Someone actually dared to assassinate Marquis Lingbei and Marquis Lingxi within the empire's borders. Preposterous. Has the 7C King found out who did it? It's Lin Muyu, who was conferred as one of the 4 heroes of Lan Yen by the late emperor. It's him. Tang Lan was filled with righteous indignation as he pointed in Lin Muyu's direction and said, "The thousands of troops in the Seven Seas city all saw it clearly. It was Lin Muyu who killed Tang Tian with the star's sword. It was him who burned Tang Lu beyond recognition with the king's battle flame." What? Qin Yin didn't receive any news at all. When she heard up to this point, she was already dumbfounded. She looked at Lin Muyu and said, "Commander Yu, what's going on?" Lin Muyu's expression was calm as he cupped his fists and said, "I've been staying in the Imperial capital for the past few days. Imperial Guard Commander Feng Jixing and Fire Sparrow Division Headmaster Xiao Han can prove it. My subordinates can also prove that I never left the Imperial capital. It's impossible for me to go outside the city to kill people." Tang Wei said angrily, "Lin Muyu, do you still want to deny it? Who in the Imperial capital doesn't know that the star's art you cultivate has a move that can freeze people to death? You ruthless murderer, you will die a horrible death." Lin Muyu looked at her indifferently and said, "Princess Wei, before the truth is revealed, Please don't slander an imperial commander with the rank of general. This is the cultivation and grace that you should have as a princess. The other princess, Tang Xiaoxi, sat quietly next to Qin Yin. She bit her red lips and didn't say a word. Her heart was already in a mess. At this time, Feng Jixing cupped his fists and said, Your Highness, I think this matter must be investigated thoroughly before we can come to a conclusion. Okay. Qin Yin nodded. Fire Sparrow Division Headmaster Xiao Han orders you to investigate this matter immediately. You must track down the assassin of the two marquises. Yes, Your Highness. Xiao Han's face was solemn. However, at this moment, Tang Lan said, Your Highness, you must not. What's wrong, Seven Seas King? Everyone in Lanyan City knows that Xiao Han and Lin Muyu are close friends. If Xiao Han investigates this case, he will definitely not be impartial. I think that we should first remove all of Lin Muyu's military power, strip her of her title and military rank, and let the Seven Seas King Palace investigate this matter. Before the truth is revealed, Lin Muyu must not be let off as a suspect. Zhang Wei was furious. He raised his eyebrows and said, Your Highness, Seven Seas King, are you going to forcibly seize the military power of an imperial commander without any evidence? No evidence? Tang Lan couldn't help but laugh. Someone, bring the irrefutable evidence. Outside the palace, a guard walked in with a plate in his hand. On the plate was a waist tag, carved with the words, Longdan Army Camp, in gold. It was the waist tag of the commander of the Longdan Army Camp. Furthermore, there were bloodstains on this waist tag, making it look extremely terrifying. Lin Muyu's heart skipped a beat. She had lost this waist tag 3 days ago when she went out of the city to check on the progress of the magic crystal cannon. It was currently being reforged, but it was actually in Tang Lan's hands. This was not good. Tang Lan held the waist tag and said, This is the irrefutable evidence, Your Highness. At the scene of Tang Lu and Tang Tian's assassination, someone found this waist tag of the commander of the Longdan Army Camp. I think it should be clear whose item this belongs to, right? This, Qin Yin frowned slightly. Seven Seas King, could there be a mistake? Would a commander of the empire casually give his waist tag to others? Tang Lan sneered. Lin Muyu felt a chill in her heart as she took a step forward and cupped her fists. Your Highness, I lost this command token 3 days ago, and I've already asked the Minister of War, Xueling, to order someone to recast it for me. Tang Lu and Tang Tian were assassinated 2 days ago, so this command token can't be used as evidence at all. The Minister of War, Lord Xueling, can testify to this matter. Qin Yin looked at Xueling and said, Xueling, is it like this? Xueling's black eyes met with Tang Lan's. He hurriedly lowered his head and cupped his fists. Your Highness, I don't remember such a thing. Commander, you didn't ask me to reforge the waist tag. What? Lin Muyu turned pale with fright. She couldn't help but let out a bitter laugh. Xueling was Tang Lan's subordinate, so he should have expected this. Tang Lan had calculated everything, so how could he make a mistake here? Lin Muyu could only blame herself for being too careless. She actually didn't notice that she had lost the token while riding her horse. Commander Yu, do you have anything else to say? Tang Lan's eyes were cold as he said, You killed my Lu, and Tian, wiping out the bloodline of the Tang sect. You are so vicious. What else do you have to say? Qin Yin's heart was in a mess. She looked at Su Muyun, Feng Jixing and the others for help, hoping that they could speak up for Lin Muyu. It would be good if they could salvage the situation. However, who would have thought that Su Muyun would lower his head and remain silent? He was probably still holding a grudge against Lin Muyu for severely injuring Luo Xian. Luo Xian was still bedridden, and it was impossible for him to speak up for Lin Muyu. Furthermore, even if he did not do so, how could he let go of such an opportunity to bring down the Longdan army camp? Only Feng Jixing furrowed his brows and cupped his fists, saying, Your Highness, Lin Muyu's military exploits are illustrious. The tens of thousands of soldiers in the Longdan army camp are our greatest reliance against the demon race, the Iha kingdom, and the imperial capital. Even if there is so-called evidence, we must not touch Lin Muyu and the Longdan army camp. This is the foundation of the empire. Now that your highness has taken control of the throne, you no longer need to be controlled by vile people. You can decide everything on your own. Xiang couldn't help but laugh coldly, saying, assassinating 2 marquises of the empire. This crime is probably not something that can be offset by meritorious deeds, right? Bending the law for personal gain, what difference is there between the empire's laws and a piece of scrap paper? Your Highness, this general remembers that when your Highness ascended to the throne, you had already clarified the laws and brought peace to the world. If there is conclusive evidence, then you cannot ignore the laws of the empire. Otherwise, the Qin Empire will be in danger. Su Muyun also cupped his fists and said, Your Highness, please make a judgment quickly so that the officials will not be disappointed. Lin Muyu raised her head to look at Qin Yin on the throne with a look of approval in her eyes. She nodded her head but didn't say anything. Tang Lan said, Your Highness, please remove Lin Muyu's gold military insignia and strip her of the title of Marquis Yunling. Lin Muyu murdered 2 marquises and her subordinates cannot escape responsibility. Please take away the military power of Wei Chou, Situ Sen, Situ Shui, and Fengxi. The Longdan army camp will have 10,000 men in a team and send them to the various provinces to act as border guards. Only in this way can we stabilize the imperial capital and make the world submit to us. Dang! The heaven-suppressing sword in Qin Yin's hand was suddenly unsheathed and she threw it out with a swing of her hand. The true dragon god binding chains circled around the blade of the sword as it flew out in a spiral. With a peng sound, it stabbed into the foot of the king's steps. Crushed stones flew everywhere and the officials were overwhelmed with shock. All of them were so scared that they kept quiet out of fear. I do not wish for anyone to tell me what to do. Always remember, you are the official and I am the monarch. Qin Yin looked at Tang Lan indifferently. Tang Lan felt as if there was a thorn in her back. The Qin Yin in front of her was like a queen and was no longer the Qin Yin that could be manipulated by others. Tang Lan didn't seem to understand this point. Su Muyun's complexion was only slightly better than Tang Lan's as he cupped his fists and said, Your Highness, then how should this matter be decided? Qin Yin lightly waved her arm and said, Come, remove Commander Yu's General Gold Star and temporarily strip him of his title. However, the military power of the Courage of Dragon Army will still be in Lin Muyu's hands. No one is allowed to have any objections. Xiao Han will investigate the matter of Tang Lu and Tang Tian's murder. When the truth comes to light, Commander Yu's title and military rank will be returned. This matter will be settled. Tang Lan's expression was dejected and she didn't say anything else. Tang Wei, however, glared with her phoenix eyes and said, Your Highness, Lin Muyu murdered Tang Lu and Tang Tian. The evidence is conclusive. How can Your Highness be so biased and still let this person continue to control the military power? Is Your Highness trying to bully our 7 Seas Tang sect? Tang Wei had a crafty and unruly personality. At this moment, she didn't put Qin Yin, the Empress, in her eyes at all. Qin Yin looked deeply at her and said, Princess Wei, this isn't bias. This is for the Empire's mountains and rivers. Please remember, the one who drowned 60,000 armored demons in the wildfire plains and forced the 2 demon legions to retreat wasn't Tang Lu or Tang Tian, but Lin Muyu. Please remember, the Empire can completely lose Tang Lu and Tang Tian, but it can't lose Lin Muyu. I am the Empress, and everything I do is for Great Qin. Truly preposterous words. Are the lives of our Tang clan's people not lives? I know you are sad that Tang Lu and Tang Tian were killed. Princess Wei, please calm down. Qin Yin said in a low voice. No, based on what? Tang Wei had an agitated expression. Feng Jixing's sword-like eyebrows were tightly knitted as he shouted in a low voice, Men, where are the golden-armored warriors? Drag Tang Wei, this shrew who offended His Highness, out for this daddy. Chapter 565. Everyone, stop quarreling. Just treat it as giving me face. In the hall, a certain person, who was the target of everyone's criticism, slowly took off the 3-star gold emblem on her collar. The golden-purple flower reflected a dazzling luster under the sunlight. The Empire's military emblem. How beautiful. She then took out the general's sword seal from her cosmos sack and gave it to Shengguan Jingyue. Shengguan Jingyue laughed softly. Then I'll keep it for you. Thank you. 7C King, Duke Lan, you know that I didn't kill your 2 grandsons, so don't force me. Don't forget that when a rabbit is cornered, it will bite. Besides, I, Lin Muyu, am not a rabbit. Xiao Han will find out the truth behind Tang Lu and Tang Tian's assassination and seek justice for you. In addition, the Tang family's bloodline has not ended. Don't forget that Xiao Shi is also your granddaughter. In my hometown, girls can also inherit the family business. Tang Lan looked at him coldly. Many thanks for Commander Yu's good intentions. This old subject appreciates it. Our Tang family's matters will naturally be handled by ourselves. There is no need for Commander Yu to worry. Lin Muyu smiled and took off her heavy helmet. She tucked it under her armpit and turned to look at Qin Yin. Your Highness, I no longer have a military position and title. Does that mean I can no longer stay in Zhe Tian Palace Hall? If that's the case, I'll take my leave first. Qin Yin was a little flustered. Are you angry? No, I'm going to eat my fill. There are still important things to do in the afternoon. All right, go then. Thus, Lin Muyu strode out of Zhe Tian Palace Hall and took Snowtreader's reins from Bai Yin. Looking at Lin Muyu's expression, Bai Yin smiled. Looking at Commander's expression, you must have averted the disaster. I've always said that those people from the Tang family always want to harm Commander. They are really despicable. Commander, am I right? That's not right. Lin Muyu pointed at her collar. Didn't you see that my general has been removed? This, Bai Yin, let's find a place to eat and drink. My treat. Okay, I know a good place to go. Lead the way. Yes. When it was almost noon, the two appeared on the north side of Tongtian Street. There were many restaurants here, and it was the most popular place in the imperial capital. Bai Yin led his horse straight to a beautifully decorated restaurant and smiled. Here it is. Clear Sky Pavilion? Lin Muyu looked up at the shop sign. Bai Yin said, Grand Purity Pavilion's wine and meat are extraordinarily fragrant, and they're also extraordinarily expensive. A single tray of Yin flour beef buns can be sold for 10 Jin Yin coins, and the wine and meat are even more expensive. Brat, you're killing me. Commander, you said you would treat me to a big meal. Forget it, let's go in. All right. The two of them stepped into the restaurant together. Immediately, a 30-year-old woman wearing a long pink dress walked over and said with a smile, Oh, it's you two generals. Come in quickly, this humble restaurant has a new batch of game. I guarantee you two will have a taste. Game? Lin Muyu frowned and said in a small voice, When I was cultivating in the dragon-seeking forest, I ate game every day without fail. Humph. Bai Yin laughed. Commander, you'll find out very soon. The two of them asked for a private room, and after ordering a lot of food and wine, the lady boss left. Not long after, two courtesans walked in, one carrying a pipa and the other a harp. Both of them were extremely beautiful, at least an 8 out of 10. Bai Yin's eyes almost popped out of their sockets as he muttered, Grand Purity Pavilion's game is really top-notch in the imperial capital. So this is game. Lin Muyu grinned but didn't say anything. She poured herself a cup of wine and drank by herself. The two courtesans began to sing. Their voices were clear and sweet, and their skills were quite good. Even someone like Lin Muyu, who didn't understand music, could hear the bitterness and melancholy in the music. By the time the song was over, Lin Muyu had already finished 7 beef buns and a large piece of wild boar leg. Sirs. The girl carrying the pipa said, my name is Zhao Qin, and I'm proficient in zither, chess, calligraphy, and painting. My ancestral home is Cloud Province's Shangyuan Commandery, and because of the chaos of war, I came to the imperial capital. If you don't abandon me, I'm willing to redeem my value at 1,400 Jin coins. I'm willing to be a slave or a servant. At this time, the red-clothed girl on the right also said, my name is Lu Lan, and my ancestral home is Qihai Province's Pingyuan Commandery. My mother died when I was young, and my father was a soldier. He died in battle against the demons half a year ago, and his pension was taken by County Chief Blackheart. With no one to rely on, I can only sell myself as a slave or a servant. If you don't abandon me, I'm willing to redeem my value at 1,000 Jin coins. Lin Muyu was silent. Bai Yin said with a smile, Sirs, my lord is of noble character and unquestionable integrity. He doesn't lack women, so, there's no need for you to introduce yourselves. Just play and sing, and the reward will not be small. Yes. At this time, Lin Muyu slowly put down the cup in her hand and said, Zhao Qin, how did you end up like this? If it was only because of the chaos of war, you could have found a good family and married them with your beauty. How did you end up as a prostitute? Zhao Qin's delicate body trembled, and her beautiful eyes were covered with a layer of mist. Sirs, please understand. After my house was burned to the ground, I was captured. They defiled my body that night. How could an unclean body marry someone? That's why I ended up in this state. Lu Lan, are you the same? Lin Muyu asked. Yes. Lu Lan sat there in silence, not daring to say anything. Both of them could see that this young general in front of them had an extraordinary bearing. The confidence and calmness in his speech were not something those mercenaries could compare to. Presumably, his identity was extraordinary. Moreover, the golden-purple flower embroidered on his white robe made it even more obvious that he was of high status. Bai Yin was a little surprised. Commander, why are you asking about this? Lin Muyu said, the human traffickers in Yanlanyan City are becoming more and more rampant. They abduct and sell young girls everywhere to be the singers and dancers of Yanlanyan City. Those who aren't good-looking are sold as prostitutes, and no one cares about their crimes. Bai Yin laughed. This is something that has happened since ancient times. Who cares? I'll take care of it. Lin Muyu smiled. She took out a gold note from her bosom and placed it on the table. I'll help you to redeem your freedom. But you need to tell me who sold you here. I'll follow the clues and uproot this power. Sirs, you have to think this through. The business of selling prostitutes is very profitable. The backers behind them are not small. I even dared to offend Tang Lan and Su Muyan. What can this backer do to me? Today, Lin Muyu held the military power. With the strength of the Longdan army camp, it was enough to support half of the imperial capital. In addition, with the help of Feng Jixing, Xiao Han, and others, the time was ripe. Lin Muyu could indeed do some things that she couldn't do in the past. The two prostitutes were dumbfounded. This young general in front of them actually said that he dared to offend even the Seven Seas King and the Cloud King. His identity was even more obvious. There were only two people who dared to say such words in Lanyan City. One was Feng Jixing, and the other was Lin Muyu. And this handsome person in front of them was definitely not Feng Jixing. Then it was the legendary Lin Muyu who defeated the demon race in the Wildfire Plains. Zhao Qin's delicate body trembled slightly. She prostrated on the ground and said gratefully, "Thank you, sirs, for giving me a new lease of life." This servant was sold to the imperial capital by a group of ruffians. I only remember, they had an organization called the Copper Dagger Gang. Everyone would carry a bronze dagger with them. Many disobedient women would die under their daggers. Copper Dagger Gang? Lin Muyu frowned and asked, Bai Yin, do you know about the Copper Dagger Gang? I do. Bai Yin ate and said, Sirs, you can't be planning to make a move against the Copper Dagger Gang, right? Can't I? That's fine, but the Seven Seas King's mansion is thinking of ways to frame you, and yet you're running off to save a girl who has lost her footing. Is this really good? Won't you disappoint Xiao Han, Feng Jixing, and the others? They won't, they understand me. That's fine. Bai Yin said, the Copper Dagger Gang is different from Situ Sen's Heaven Execution Society. The Copper Dagger Gang only lives underground, and all of their transactions are done in secret. I only know that the Copper Dagger Gang has been around for less than 3 years. The leader of the Copper Dagger Gang is a man called Lu Jun. It is said that he has dealings with the Imperial Guard and some of the lower and middle-level officers of the Major Corps. So, it won't be as easy to remove the Copper Dagger Gang as you think. Lu Jun. Lin Muyu muttered, why does this hateful name sound so familiar? This subordinate doesn't know. If Sirs wants to find Lu Jun, it's very simple. You just need to find a young and beautiful woman to use as bait. Walk in the alleys of the old city area at night, and someone from the Copper Dagger Gang will naturally receive her. Please don't. Lulan, the songstress, was like a frightened little beast as she said, the Copper Dagger Gang. Whenever they catch a young and beautiful girl, they will definitely defile her first. No. You can't. Lin Muyu flashed a radiant smile and said, don't worry, with me here, no one can touch her. Bai Yin, continue. Bai Yin nodded and explained, the leaders of the Copper Dagger Gang are divided into 10 ranks from low to high. The lowest rank is called Snake Head, and above it are Eagle Head, Wolf Head, Bear Head, Shark Head, Leopard Head, Lizard Head, Whale Head, Tiger Head, and Dragon Head. Generally speaking, Snake Head is just a small fry. If he captures more than 3 women, he will be promoted to Eagle Head. If Eagle Head captures 6 women, he will be promoted to Wolf Head. Wolf Head needs to capture, this subordinate's math isn't too good, so I can't calculate anymore. Anyway, the Copper Dagger Gang's Wolf Head is called Lu Jun. You can imagine how many innocent women he has captured. Lin Muyu was dumbfounded. She murmured, what a great MLM gang. If I don't destroy this Copper Dagger Gang, it will be a disgrace to my identity as a transmigrator. Bai Yin was at a loss, what is MLM, and what is transmigration? Chapter 566. At dusk, Lin Muyu returned to Zhe Tian Palace to discuss with Qin Yin about the legislation to ban human trafficking and to get a free meal. As this matter was too serious, Qin Yin called Feng Jixing, Tang Xiaoxi, and Qin Yan over as well. At night, everyone sat around the table. In the rising steam, the pot of pork and potatoes was giving off an alluring aroma. Feng Jixing frowned and said, if we ban human trafficking, the implications will be huge. The female slave market in Lanyan City can bring in at least 100 million gold coins every year, and all the brothels are infiltrated by the wealth of the officials. It can be said that a slight move in one part will affect the whole body. As far as I know, there are more than 40 restaurants in Officers' Alley alone that operate this kind of business. They have trained a large number of singers and dancers and are waiting for the highest price. Among these 40 restaurants, at least 10 are opened by the generals and civil officials of the Prince of Cloud Zhong's mansion, and most of the others are opened by the important officials of the imperial court. There are 3 departments and 6 ministries, and almost no one can escape. Even the Minister of History and the Minister of Revenue have opened several restaurants that trade singers. This matter, it's better to think about it at length, otherwise I'm afraid it will arouse public anger. Lin Muyu nodded and thought for a while, then said, I know this matter has a lot of implications, so I dare not act rashly. Otherwise, I would directly dispatch the Longdan army camp to arrest them. But this matter has to be changed. Boy, you are still thinking about the system of female camp? Feng Jixing chuckled. That's right. Lin Muyu said, the soldiers of the imperial army are all professional soldiers. Since they are professional soldiers, they should not use female camp to stimulate their combat effectiveness. I don't know if Brother Feng still remembers, but it's not the first time that the Imperial Army's mobility and morale were affected by the existence of female camp. Many middle and low-level officers lost their fighting spirit after having female camp. When retreating and marching, the overall marching speed was also slowed down because of the female camp. Otherwise, the 20,000 Iron Blade Army cavalry would not have been chased by 3,000 armor demons and lost more than half of them. I agree with Mu's opinion. Tang Xiaoxi, who was sitting beside Qin Yin, smiled and said, there shouldn't be female soldiers in the Empire's army in the first place. We're not some barbaric tribe army that needs women to motivate us. Now that the Empire has a complete reward system, there's no longer a need for female soldiers to exist. The commander of the Imperial Guards, Qin Yan, ate a piece of meat and did not even have time to wipe his mouth before saying, I also agree with Big Brother's view. Qin Yin nodded. Since we're more or less on the same page, and I think the time is ripe, I'll issue an edict tomorrow morning to abolish the barracks mistress system. All barracks mistresses of the Empire will be given 10 Jin Yin coins each. Just abolishing the concubine system is not enough. Lin Muyu said, we still need to customize a punishment system for human trafficking. Those who forcefully abduct women and sell them as slaves will be killed. Those who forcefully abduct women and forcibly take them as wives will be whipped 50 times and fined 5 Jin Yin coins. Other than those who voluntarily sign the contract to sell themselves, anyone who forcefully buys and sells women will be punished severely. Only this way can we make the law clear and change the bad habits that have persisted for 10,000 years in the Qin Empire. On the side, Shangguan Jingyue, who was serving everyone at the back, lightly bowed and said with a smile, Jingyue represents all the women in the world to thank Commander Yu's great kindness. Your Highness, can Jingyue write this set of laws for you? Mn, Qin Yin nodded. Then Jingyue can go busy yourself. There's no need for you to serve here. Yes, this servant will take her leave. Shangguan Jingyue slowly retreated in a natural and unrestrained manner. Seeing this, Qin Yan and Feng Jixing couldn't help but be a little dumbfounded. Qin Yin was already a great beauty, and the female official by her side was actually such a natural beauty. It was too precious. Lin Muyu seemed to have noticed something and couldn't help but smile. Big Brother Feng, I'm 27 years old this year. Logically speaking, you're older than me by 5 years, so you'll be 33 years old this year. You're still unmarried. Don't tell me you won't consider it. In my opinion, this female official Shangguan Jingyue is virtuous and treats people gently. She's a good candidate. Moreover, Big Brother Feng, let's talk about the concubine. Feng Jixing's face was a little flushed as he said, I'm not worthy of her. How can that be? Tang Xiaoxi smiled with her dimples. Big Brother Feng, as one of the Empire's commanders, is well versed in both the pen and the sword. Your appearance is also passable. Even if Jingyue's background isn't bad, she's still only a personal female official. How can you not be worthy of her? When it came to getting serious, Feng Jixing was a little timid. He lowered his head and drank the wine in one gulp. His eyes had a touch of melancholy as he said, Feng Jixing is a sinner. I carry the souls of 30,000 brothers on my back. As long as the Yihan nation is not destroyed and Ji Yao is not dead, Feng Jixing, am not worthy of marrying a wife. So, forget it. I've only been suffering all these years. I don't want her to suffer with me. Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi were startled and went silent. Everyone knew what Feng Jixing was shouldering. This was something that no one was willing to mention. Feng Jixing, because of his own kindness, buried the lives of 30,000 imperial guards. This was a knot that he would never be able to untie in his life. Actually, no matter how many enemies he killed, even if he really destroyed the Yihan nation, with Feng Jixing's personality, he would never be able to let go of it. This kind of guilt would accompany him for the rest of his life. Lin Muyu used a spoon to stir the soup pot. The boar meat and potatoes slowly moved up and down. He smiled and said, the 300,000 soldiers of the Yihan nation surrounded the Fire Badger Valley. No matter what decision Big Brother Feng makes, the 30,000 imperial guards will still die. They died for the empire and now their names are already on the nation-guarding monument. They should be able to rest in peace in heaven. Big Brother Feng, you have already stepped into the Holy King realm. It is only a matter of time before you advance to God realm. You will obtain eternal life, and we still have a long road ahead of us. Feng Jixing was startled. He held his chopsticks and sat there absent-mindedly. He raised his head to look at Lin Muyu and said, "You. If we all step into God realm in the future, the road to eternal life will be so lonely and boring. Will you drink with Big Brother Feng often?" "Why not?" Lin Muyu stretched out his hand and looked at Qin Yin, Tang Xiaoxi, and the others. He smiled and said, with Xiao Yin, Xiao Shi, and Yan's comprehension, "It is only a matter of time before you step into God realm. All of us will have eternal life. No matter how long it takes, whether it is 100 years, 1,000 years, or even 10,000 years, we will still be brothers and we will be together." And Feng Jixing nodded his head heavily and said, "All right, let's eat. This potato is a specialty of the endless forest, right? It is really delicious." "Huh, that's right." Lin Muyu looked at Tang Xiaoxi and asked, "Xiao Shi, how is the production of potatoes in the endless forest this year?" "It has been planted on a large scale. The yield of this autumn is enough for the demon clan and the barbarian tribe to survive the winter. Otherwise, I am afraid it will be another hungry winter. Next spring, we will reclaim the land and plant more crops to provide food for the endless forest and the empire. Let me tell you again, potatoes can be cooked and dried in the sun. They can also be eaten after being fried, and they taste better with ketchup." "What is ketchup, this?" "I don't know if there is ketchup in this plane. Anyway, there is one in my plane. By the way, Xiao Shi, there is one more thing I need to trouble you with." "What is it?" "Take me to the Copper Dagger Gang, the largest human trafficking gang in Lanyan City." "How?" "Pretend to be a young woman and get caught by them. Then I can follow the clues. If it is another woman, I will not be at ease. Their cultivation is too low and they will be at a disadvantage. Humph, I am so angry. Moo, you bastard." Tang Xiaoxi stared at him angrily with her beautiful eyes wide open. Her chest heaved up and down. She said angrily, "Won't you feel bad if I am at a disadvantage?" Lin Muyu touched his nose. "Will you be at a disadvantage? I only ask that you don't kill the human trafficker in one go. In any case, come to the commander's tent tomorrow night and follow me. Don't wear too luxurious clothes or you'll be seen through." Qin Yin said worriedly, I heard that those people are despicable. They will use drugs to knock out innocent women and then take them away." "What if they use drugs?" "It's okay. I will make some spirit concentration powder and let Xiao Shi take it first. Then." Feng Jixing stared and said, "What if those bastards take advantage of Xiao Shi when she pretends to be unconscious? For example, their breasts." "Tell me." Tang Xiaoxi blushed. "That's right. You don't feel bad for me at all." "Who said I don't feel bad?" Lin Muyu was enraged. He clenched his fists and the king's fighting flame lingered. "If those bastards dare to touch a hair on Xiao Shi, I promise they will regret coming to this world." "Okay, I promise you. In exchange, you have to give me 5 people. 10 people? Yes, I want 5 Kiliarchs from the Longdan army camp to be captaincy of the Suppressing Demon Pass. There are too few high-ranking generals in the Suppressing Demon Pass. Tang Jin alone is far from enough. These 5 people must be proficient in combat training. Is that okay?" Tang Xiaoxi looked at him pitifully. She looked like she would cry if he did not agree. Lin Muyu thought about it. The Suppressing Demon Pass was slowly expanding. It was also one of the main armies of the empire. Tang Xiaoxi wanted 5 Kiliarchs from the Longdan army camp to be captaincy. This meant that there would be 50,000 soldiers in the Suppressing Demon Pass, and they would be held by Lin Muyu's trusted generals. Tang Xiaoxi's move was meaningful. She planned to share the military power of the suppressing demon pass with Lin Muyu. As long as he was willing, he could mobilize the suppressing demon pass at any time. All right then, but you have to treat the 5 generals of the Courage Dragon Battalion well. He still tried to show off after getting the benefits. Tang Xiaoxi chuckled and said, "Don't worry. When are we going to take action tomorrow? Also, I can be the bait, but you have to prepare some troops to encircle and annihilate the Bronze Dagger Gang, right? There's no hurry. I want to meet the leader of the Bronze Dagger Gang first." Leader? Qin Yin was surprised. Yes, to catch bandits, first catch the ringleader. If we catch the leader of the Bronze Dagger Gang, we can subdue the entire Bronze Dagger Gang. Maybe Xiao Yi knows the leader of the Bronze Dagger Gang? Oh. How is that possible? His name is Lu Jun, so, it's this despicable person. The Empress was so angry that her face turned red. She clenched her fists and wished she could beat up that stinking hooligan to vent her anger. Chapter 567. The next day, the sun was setting, and lanterns were lit up in Lanyan City. As the most prosperous city on the mainland, Lanyan City's nightlife was very colorful. The streets were full of acrobatics, lanterns, singing, and so on. But this night was particularly different for Lin Muyu and Tang Xiaoxi. On the street, Lin Muyu was dressed as a merchant, with the star's sword hidden in her gray robe, while Tang Xiaoxi was dressed as a girl from an ordinary family. Except for her very charming face, she was no different from a girl from Lanyan City who went out at night. It's so lively in the capital at night. Under the light of the fire, Tang Xiaoxi's beautiful face was full of excitement. She didn't care about what would happen soon. Instead, she was attracted by the bustling night market. She took Lin Muyu's hand and ran around. "Mu, I want to eat sugar figurines. Mu, I want that windmill. Mu, I want to see acrobatics swallowing swords." Lin Muyu wanted to die. She forced herself to calm down and walked step by step toward the old city with Tang Xiaoxi. The old city was not as prosperous as the central district. It was not as bright as Tongtian Street. Along the way, there were only some peddlers selling tofu pudding, wonton, and some brothels that were not doing very well. The cold wind blew, and the few remaining dead leaves on the trees danced and fell with the wind. It was extremely cold. Lin Muyu couldn't help but tighten her clothes. Looking at the sky, it was almost midnight, and the time was almost ripe. In front, several drunken mercenaries stood next to a barred girl and listened to her singing. The girl was not good looking. Her face was covered with dirt, and her figure was very thin. She held a rusty pipa in her hand, and when the cold wind blew, the ragged cotton on her body danced. Her voice trembled as she sang an unrhymed ballad that was popular in the empire. "I've seen the falling snow in Lanyan City. I remember the starry sky in Muyu City. I hear the flute of the dragon-seeking forest. When the breeze blows through the wildfire, it blows away the blood and hatred. How many stories have been trampled by the iron hooves of the Iha kingdom. How the bards have composed heroic ballads. Her Royal Highness lives in the Zetian Palace, the smoke signal of Lanyan City. Annihilates the wind, rain, thunder, and lightning." Lin Muyu stood far away and was a little dazed as she listened. She didn't know when her name had become a part of the ballad. The bard girl sang with a trembling voice, but it wasn't too sad. Perhaps she didn't understand the meaning of the lyrics. The iron hooves of the Iha kingdom had trampled on many stories, and perhaps only Lin Muyu would understand these stories. Clang! A shiny Jin Yin coin fell into the empty bowl in front of the bard girl. It was a tip from Tang Xiaoxi. "Thank you. Thank you." The girl hurriedly knelt on the ground and kowtowed. She quickly grabbed the Jin Yin coin and stuffed it into her pocket. Then, she picked up the pipa and continued to sing. How many months had it taken for someone to be so generous as to give her a Jin Yin coin? There were only 2 or 3 rusty copper coins in her empty bowl. She couldn't even buy a bun with these copper coins. Perhaps she hadn't even eaten dinner yet. Let's go. Lin Muyu held Tang Xiaoxi's hand and didn't let her give her any more money. 1 Jin coin was enough. Any more and this bard girl might be killed. In this world, some people were willing to do anything for money. After buying a worn-out harp from a shop on the street, she had Tang Xiaoxi carry it and pretend to be a bard girl. The two of them walked along the dark corridor of the old city. It was midnight, and the people in the old city were already asleep. There were only a few scattered lights on the street. Tang Xiaoxi and Lin Muyu walked slowly, one in front of the other. Tang Xiaoxi's exquisite cloud boots were hidden under her long dress. She walked on the cold stone steps, making soft sounds as she stepped on the sand. Lin Muyu was like a gray trace, about 300 meters away from Tang Xiaoxi. She followed at a moderate distance. Her footsteps were so soft that it was almost undetectable, and her aura was so suppressed that it was almost impossible to detect. However, her spirit pulse technique was spread out and captured all the auras in the surroundings. Woo woo, the cold night wind blew on the eaves of the houses on both sides, making a ghostly howl. Tang Xiaoxi's hair stood on end when she heard it. She hugged the harp and walked forward carefully. She lifted her hood, revealing a beautiful face. As the cold wind blew, her cloak fluttered gently, revealing the perfect figure of a girl outlined by the long dress under the cloak. Tang Xiaoxi naturally knew what kind of woman could make a man commit a crime. After walking for about an hour, there was finally a sound coming from an alley not far away. Tang Xiaoxi immediately became alert, but she didn't stop walking. She still walked forward step by step with the harp in her arms. The sound of footsteps came, and a man in a black robe slowly walked out of the alley. He walked straight up and said with a foreign accent, "Miss, may I know how to get to the Dragon Search Chamber of Commerce? Please don't misunderstand. I'm a foreign merchant and I'm lost here." Tang Xiaoxi pointed to Tongtian Street in the distance. "Thank you, Mississippi," the man nodded and smiled, but a trace of surprise flashed in his eyes. Only after observing from a close distance did he realize how beautiful this bard girl was. However, he remained calm and walked past Tang Xiaoxi. When their backs were facing each other, he suddenly turned around and took out a piece of cotton cloth to block Tang Xiaoxi's mouth from behind. A strong smell of medicine came, and Tang Xiaoxi knew that the person she was waiting for had finally appeared. The man closed his eyes and pretended to faint on the ground. He laughed and said, "Finally, a big fish. Ha ha ha, this time, I, Ho-san, can at least upgrade to an eagle head." Sure enough, there was a copper dagger hanging on his waist. Lin Muyu had no intention of letting this Ho-san carry Tang Xiaoxi to their lair. She leaped forward, and a Saint Realm pressure swept out. When Ho-san's palm was 7 to 8 centimeters away from Tang Xiaoxi's chest, an invisible pressure fell on him, immobilizing him, as if he had seen a ghost. At this time, Tang Xiaoxi, who was lying on the ground, got up, and raised her hand to slap Ho-san's face, "Smelly pervert." Lin Muyu stepped forward and grabbed Ho-san's collar, saying with a frosty expression, "Don't speak, or you're dead." "Who are you?" Ho-san's voice trembled. "The person who wants your life." Lin Muyu opened her palm lightly, and the jade snow frigid energy surged, creating an icy energy field around them. Suddenly, Ho-san felt as if he had fallen into the abyss of death. When Lin Muyu retracted her palm, Ho-san's face was as pale as a sheet, as if he had died once. What do you want?" "I don't want anything, just be obedient, and I can spare your life." "Hero, as long as you don't kill me, I won't go west if you tell me to go east. I won't dare to chase a chicken if you tell me to beat a dog." Ho-san knelt on the ground, begging for mercy. Lin Muyu smiled in satisfaction. This was the kind of person she wanted to knock on the door, so she nodded. "I want to see the Copper Dagger Gang's leader, Lu Jun. Can you take me to him?" "You want to see the leader?" Ho-san was dumbfounded. "Why, can't I?" "Hero, I'm not qualified enough. If you want to see the dragon's head, you need to be a level 5 shark head in the gang. I'm just a mere snake head, the smallest in the Bronze Dagger Gang." Then, who's the highest level person you can see? It's the tiger head, Lord Dog, Lord Dog. Lin Muyu smiled. Alright, I'll go see this Lord Dog. But Lord Dog doesn't meet people usually. I have no reason to meet him. Lin Muyu couldn't help but smile. She reached out and hugged Tang Xiaoxi's shoulder, pointing at her beautiful face with her right hand. If you get such a beautiful woman as a meeting gift, will Lord Dog still not see you? This, Ho San-er's forehead was full of sweat. He said, if you betray your brothers in the gang, you will lose an arm and a leg. If you don't take me to see Lord Dog, I guarantee that both your arms and legs will be cut off. I'll take you there, hero, don't be impulsive. Lin Muyu raised her hand and pulled out the dagger from Ho San-er's waist. She pressed it against his back. She said, let's go, take us to see Lord Dog. Yes, under Ho San-er's lead, they passed through a damp alley. Further ahead, there were actually two burly men guarding them with sharp blades in their hands. One of them grinned and said, Ho San-er, how come you have the time to come to the branch today? Who are the two behind you? TSK, this little girl looks so pretty. Come, let me touch you first. Ho San was trembling with fear as he said, Fei Hu, the man behind me, this man is my new follower. The woman is my prey. This woman is to be presented to Lord Dog. You can't touch her. Presented to Lord Dog? Fei Hu squinted his eyes. He said lightly, it's really like a fresh flower in a vase. Go in, Motherf ***, God really made a mistake, letting you catch such a delicious new product. Ho San nodded and walked in with Lin Muyu. In the alley, it seemed to be a completely different world from the outside of Lanyan City. There were people sitting on both sides of the road, either eating meat and drinking wine around the bonfire, or holding a woman in their arms, touching each other. Lin Muyu frowned, holding Tang Xiaoxi's hand with one hand and didn't say anything, while Ho San didn't dare to act rashly. He had seen Lin Muyu's ability, and acting rashly would be courting death. At the end of the alley, noisy cursing and laughter came from a dilapidated house. After Ho San knocked on the door, a man wearing a wolf head emblem on his chest came out and asked with an arrogant look, Ho San, what are you doing here? Ho San pointed at Tang Xiaoxi behind him and said, I just caught a new product with my little brother, the product is very good, and we want to present it to Lord Dog, please inform him. Oh. The man's eyes greedily looked at Tang Xiaoxi's face for a while, then said, wait here, I'll go inform him. A few minutes later, the door opened again. Come in. You're tuning into the Carefree Valley YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.